by the Red Sox to the Giants last year in that summer of 2025 blockbuster. His Giants head to Fenway for a 3-game set with Sonny Gray on the bump for Boston. First pitch at 7:10 p.m. Roman Anthony continues his rehab stint with Portland tonight, this time at DH. He's 0 for 1 so far with a strikeout. The Patriots continue their preseason tomorrow night against the Philadelphia Eagles after 2 joint practices throughout the week. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Texans made an exploratory call to the Patriots about wide receiver Kayshon Boutte. However, earlier today, Houston signed veteran wide receivers Sterling Shepard and Zay Jones. News coming out of the NBA, according to Shams Charania, Klay Thompson is expected to sign with the Miami Heat after he clears waivers through a contract buyout with the Mavericks. Thompson plans to sign a 2-year, $13 million contract with the Heat and join Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo. Also, DeMar DeRozan has agreed to sign a 1-year, $3.9 million deal with the Denver Nuggets. Sports Hub Headlines is brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Don't put off losing weight this summer. Reach your goal during the easiest season for weight loss. Awaken 180, the official weight loss program of summer. I'm Zeke Altman on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. Your next update with Sean Sylver in 30 minutes.
Boston Talk Sports.
Drake May.
We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub.
Well, listen, Joe. We've seen it. Nobody wants to be there. It's a big bad show tonight. Just can't take this damn parade. Who cares? Joe. There's a 2-mile wait to get past the damn green line.
Anyone who gets hit by a bear in the neighborhood, call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a hoot.
Sports Hub. It's the Joe Show. You heard the theme music there. No Joe for the second time this week. It's Sean Sylver here. You there till 11 o'clock. Skaz is here. And you can join this party at 617-779-0985. We're also on YouTube. I'm getting logged in over there. But, yeah, we are going to be having ourselves a time tonight. Skaz, we've done some Fridays, summer Fridays before the weekend before. I feel like we've done a few. It's always interesting. Like, what's going to catch? What's going to stick? What's going to tickle one's fancy? How do we get calls on a night like this? Well, there's actually some stuff going on here. And I feel like Labor Day is like breathing down my neck, but it's actually not quite. We got 2 weeks until Labor Day weekend here. There's kind of like an extra one thrown in there. Like the first week of September, that's actually pre-Labor Day here. So we've got some extended summer. It's an extra week for the people to be down on the Cape, right? And obviously the previous show coming from Nantucket. Some real high society living over there, hanging out with the hoi polloi. I've never been a big island guy. I've been over to each, a couple times, a few times, had some fun. Skaz, you ever get out to the islands much?
I think the only time I've ever been was for high school sports. I think that's the only time I've ever been on either island.
You played one of the island teams in high school sports?
I think we played both of them.
Really?
I believe it was nice. Get out of school early.
What is that Old Colony League? What league were you in?
We were OCL back in the day, yeah. So, yeah, I feel like we played both for sure. For sure, the Vineyard. I'm not sure about Nantucket.
That's a trip. Where do you take off from, like, New Bedford to go?
A little ferry action.
You drive down to Woods Hole.
Like 11 a.m. Sure, it was a great day.
Those were fun days. Because, I remember we may not have been Old Colony League. We were Atlantic Coast League. But for hoops, I don't think we went over to the island. But for whatever reason, because I was a high school tennis player as well, for tennis we did. I I think we played the Vineyard. And trying to play tennis on Martha's Vineyard in April, that's a sport. You got some gusts. That's a difficult game. Now, though, I mean, that's the life of leisure there. It's a life of Riley. But, you know, I can go to dentists whenever I want. I just call up my folks and tell them that I'm coming down. I don't need to go hobnob with high society to get my Cape Cod experience. I just go to Dick and Mary's house, you know. Problem is, I don't really feel like doing it too much. Like, it's not because of my folks, but it's just, you know, the sheer volume. Like, I talked to my parents driving in, and they were just like, we went into Hyannis today to see, you know, like my cousin Trish is, you know, a hairstylist. So my mom went, you know, to her appointment with Trish, and this guy in the parking lot did this, and he was backing up. He was looking at his phone. He wasn't even looking at, just like, you know, I believe all of it. Skaz, were you a Cape guy? Like, come down?
Yeah,
you know,
maybe Sandwich if that's like
okay,
you know, but not real. We were more head up to Maine for the summer kind of family. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, I'm always interested, particularly because of your geography being, you know, south of Boston. Like, did you go to the South Coast? Did you go to the Rhode Island beaches? Did you go to the Cape? Did you go to the South Shore?
I can tell you for sure, we were not on the island. We were not. We were not frequenting the island. No.
No, not you know, going down to get the newspaper and in your bathrobe and waving to Portnoy across the street.
No, I was not. Not neighbors with John Henry and Ryan Day as Mike Felger. You know,
sure. A lot
of Ryan Day talk today.
Yeah, a lot of. I wasn't expecting as much Ryan Day talk as we got, but you know, so it is when you have those principles lined up in your radio broadcast. I mean, yeah, I like the Maine coast too. And I don't feel bad going there because I know I'm not like perpetuating, you know, adding to the sinking of Cape Cod off into the Atlantic Ocean just because of the sheer volume of people that are there right now. I mean, it was a blast growing up there, particularly the shoulder seasons where like the weather's nice, but the families haven't come down yet because kids aren't out of school. Maybe like some college kids are getting out in like May, right? And things start to bustle a little bit, but like the families aren't down yet. And the weather's good, and the beaches are frigid, but you just do it. But yeah, I don't know. I'll see you soon, Mom and Dad. I'll be down. But as far as the islands, no plans. I went to Cutty Hunk with my dad a few years ago. Had to get a special like boat trip to go there. My dad's 76 years old. He had never been to Cutty Hunk, one of those islands hanging off of Falmouth, right? And it's crazy, like, how close that island is to Long Island and Block Island and all that other stuff in the Atlantic that you don't really think of being close to Cape Cod, but it really is. No, I didn't grow up on a boat. I couldn't tell you how close all this stuff is to one another. You know, nautical miles, how many knots we're traveling. All right. Figured it would be a good father-son bonding moment. So we got on a boat tour out there, got to tour Cutty Hunk with some bird watchers. Audubon Society did it. It was great. Nice day. Learned a little bit of history. But yeah, the islands. Hope everybody's having a good weekend down there. We'll be starting our weekend right here in Waltham, Massachusetts on 98.5 The Sports Hub. And we got a call already. And you know what? When it's this guy, you take him first segment. JP and NP, what's up?
Sylver, what a treat. You know, I'd call in 4 hours from now as usual, but I've got an important date going on tonight. Ooh. So I heard you were on. If you're going to go to an island, you go to Aquidneck Island, as we folks say. That's Newport. That's where you go. But if you want French fries, you go to Castle Island because you know you're going to get the fries there. Just watch the birds. And I got an important question. You know who. Oh. Let's start the show off right. For the Macho Man. Macho Man, you played second base. You had a look. You're a ball player. You're an athlete. Do you put Trevor Story at second base or are you rolling him out at shortstop? Does he got what it takes when it's coming back like the Macho Man would? Thanks, Sylver.
You got it, JP. Always good to hear from JP. I enjoy the Rhode Island beach life as well. I went to Little Compton a few times. That's a cute little community there. That's nice. That's like Rhode Island High Society goes down there. And Newport, of course. But yeah, what would the Macho Man say about Trevor Story? I mean, I know, like, I've been listening to the baseball hour and stuff. This, like, kind of snuck up on me, even though it's been talked about, right? Just hearing that he was back in the lineup tonight kind of took me by surprise. Think the Macho Man would put Trevor Story right in the laundry cart, send him down the chute, yeah, into a truck on Causeway, or what do they call it now, Jersey Street, yeah. Take it down the road. Take it way down the road, down to the docks. Put Trevor Story on a barge, yeah. Drive him way out into the ocean, yeah. Headed for Africa or somewhere else. I don't know how I feel about Trevor Story being back with the Sox right now. But he is there. We'll get into that. We'll unpack it. We'll try and figure out our feelings around a lot of this stuff. Obviously, Raffy Devers back at Fenway. We cheering, we booing. Has he been up yet, Skaz?
Yes, he struck out, and it appears he was pretty much booed.
He was booed. He was booed. I was looking at the call screener, I think, during Rafael Devers' strikeout there. The camera's on him and Nesson right now. He's shaking his head, but he doesn't look too broken up about it. I was looking for a mix. I was looking for a mix with Rafael Devers. And, I'll talk more about why. Obviously, that weighing heavily on people's minds. Like, Rafael Devers was a fixture here. And whether you liked him or not, and apparently a lot of people have decided they don't like him. He was a fixture here for a lot of years. He put up numbers. But were they meaningful numbers? Did they make you feel something? Did they stir the senses? That, I guess, is up for debate. And, we'll talk about that later. Anna Russo, Russi, Section 10 podcast, will be joining us at 9:20. She's at the game. So we'll get a little feedback on that whole experience there. Of course, welcome to take your calls as well at 617-779-0985. And Brian Robb will be joining us. Not to bury the lead. He's at the 820 segment tonight. Because there's some NBA moves that have been made. We just heard in the headlines there with Zeke, right, that DeMar DeRozan has joined the Denver Nuggets. And I was kind of wondering, like, what are the Denver Nuggets doing? Trading Peyton Watson away. And it kind of raises an interesting thing for me where the Nuggets are riding with Jokic and Murray and filling in the blanks where they can, right? They just said out on Peyton Watson, who scored 15 points a game for them last year, and it was a very good up-and-coming kind of player. And they said, we're in on the veteran DeMar DeRozan. So they're making their salary work. The Cleveland Cavs making their salary work, extending James Harden, bringing him back for 3 years and big money. Not as big as Jaylen Brown money, but enough where it's like, well, these teams got to make some considerations. I think Cleveland is over the first apron now. I want to talk to B-Rob about how that stacks up with what the Celtics did, because it doesn't seem like these other teams are moving on from their superstar combos, but the Celtics did. Does that mean that they're ahead of the trend, or they're just off doing their own thing here? Because that would be bad. And then, of course, Patriots camp. Like I was listening to Joe and Barth on this morning. Obviously, check out Joe on TV sometimes. I know he's just tickled about how things have been going down at Patriots training camp. And it's cool watching A.J. Brown do A.J. Brown things. And it's cool watching Romeo Doubs climb the ladder, as Drake May said, for catches. And it makes me wonder, is this the best Patriots receiving core since blank? What would you say? 617-779-0985. We'll start off at Patriots training camp, where they were getting ready for this clash with the Eagles, preseason game number 2 tomorrow night. You can hear it right here on the Sports Hub. Obviously, free to sprinkle in socks or whatever, because we've got a lot of whatever tonight. I want to hit on all topics. For God's sakes, the Columbia House Record Club closed down this week. This is a very personal thing for me, and we'll talk about that as well with you. We're here till 11 o'clock. Sean Sylver, Skaz alongside the Dream Team. Well, in lieu of Joe. I mean, in lieu of Joe, obviously. If you're going beyond that, if you have to pull from the bench, you'd probably take a bunch of other guys. But eventually you'll get to me, and then you'll call it a Dream Team. There we go. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray. Sports Hub.
Listen, Barthy, don't tell me that it's as good as everyone's saying it is. Don't tell me. The coverage has been so frothy the last 48 hours. Are you telling me that they look that good on offense?
Yesterday they did. Yesterday was awesome for the offense. I thought today the Eagles defense punched back a little bit more. It was more of a back and forth, specifically when it comes to that Drake May, A.J. Brown connection. Both of Drake May's picks today were targets to A.J. Brown. One I would say was more on May. The other one I would put more on Brown, kind of a drop that popped up in the air and was picked. So overall, an encouraging summer for the offense, I would say so. Yesterday was better than today, but a good couple.
Over in for Joe Murray, James Scaramazino alongside as we take this rocket ship straight till 11 o'clock. Here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, we got Sox and Giants in progress. Scoreless game early. Sox have a base runner here in the bottom of the first. Raffy Devers struck out, for those of you not following. But, maybe you're interested, so I told you. And as far as the Patriots, I'm here for the froth. Alex Barth certainly wading deep in the froth right now because, you look at this joint practice session, right? And the joint practices are always kind of looked at as the real training camp because NFL, training camp, what is it? It's not like baseball spring training where you get like a zillion games and you can kind of build. So say like your starting pitcher goes out and just gets whacked his first spring training outing. It's not that big of a deal, right? But, you see a prominent player put in a position where they're seeing some game action in NFL preseason and they don't come through and you're like, what's going on? It's sample size is small, right? So you got to kind of live off these reports from Alex Barth and the various beat folks. It's like, what can I take out of a nice nice catch? Okay. What can I take out of, these statistics from training camp? Someone threw an interception in 2-on-2s. Like, what does that mean? It's a scenario. Is it a game scenario? Not really, but truly, when you're doing it against your own team and they know what's going on, that's different from doing it with another team, particularly a team that's expected to be competitive, like the Philadelphia Eagles. And you look at it like a couple of years ago, when Drake May's a rookie and these guys, you're doing joints with them. And they sunned the Patriots. They're a Super Bowl contender. They just got Saquon Barkley. And you got Jacoby Brissett at quarterback and a rookie who, you may or may not have something with him. And you're still kind of picking up the pieces from the Bill Belichick era. It was definitely different then. Because now the Patriots, I wouldn't say necessarily they're like the established power, but they're definitely a team to be reckoned with coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. And you add in the fact that two of your most prominent Patriots are former Eagles right now, in Milton Williams and A.J. Brown, and that adds a little bit of drama to it. Skaz, I'll have to get a report back from you on was Devers cheered for the video there? I'm seeing maybe one fan applauding. They caught one fan applauding.
It appears some applause.
There's some
mixed emotions. It appears.
Maybe it's just a case of too soon here, and I definitely want to get into the Devers stuff. But again, starting Pats, there'll be plenty of time with that. Plenty of time with that. And I certainly want to go deep on the Red Sox. To quote Janet Jackson, as they. Are a team of interest right now. Roman Anthony coming back. You got Trevor Story back tonight. They're in a playoff pole position here. But for the Pats, seeing A.J. Brown do the things that he's doing out there, seeing Romeo Doubs and Drake May's kind of compatibility coming together, it's exciting. And it makes me really wonder, is this the best Patriots receiving core since blank? And I really think you got to go Moss Welker. I really think you do. I don't think that Romeo Doubs is like the greatest thing in the world. But you think about the different permutations of the Patriots receiving core in the, I don't know, say 15, 16 years. I guess 09 would have been the last time that you had a fully intact Moss-Welker combination. And we all know how 09 went for the Patriots. You didn't have a whole lot of depth behind those guys. You really relied, after that, you drafted Gronkowski and Hernandez the next year. You really relied on tight ends for a lot. You relied on running backs like a Woodhead or a James White to make a lot of catches. Shane Vereen in that as well. But the tight ends caught a lot of balls. Martellus Bennett, remember, was like the second or third leading receiver for one of these Pats teams. And then there were guys that they tried to make work. Remember Tim Wright? The guy that got back for Mankins?
Traded for Tampa Bay. Legend, Tim Wright.
I remember having like a Tim Wright conversation here in this studio. We're trying to hype up the Tim Wright era.
I mean, maybe that's something we should do tonight, Sylver, is the worst guys we ever tried to hype up in Boston.
Oh, man.
Tim Wright's good. Danny Paille, the high glass line back there,
Wow.
former first-round pick from Buffalo. I don't know. I feel like that's a long list that could go. James Young, I thought, was going to be the next great Celtic, but there's quite a few names. That's a Friday night topic if I've ever heard one.
It very much is. I'll work on my little list here of overhyped guys that we tried to hype. Another one I'm thinking of right now is, as I was looking back at Patriots receiving cores, Josh Gordon.
Well,
boy, did we want Josh Gordon to work out here.
I mean, he was good at football.
Yes.
He just didn't play football that often. Yes. That was the problem with Josh Gordon. The NFL wouldn't let him play football. NFL was very anti-weed back then. I think less so now.
Yeah. No, it was timing wasn't right there.
No.
Wherever Josh Gordon is, I hope he's well.
A lot of training camp heroes, though, through the years with the Patriots. Your Sudfelds of the world, and your name a receiver that had a good camp.
I mean, is like Efton Chisholm kind of like the new?
Yeah, but I think we know he's not very good.
Well, but the fact that like we're so hell bent on trading
an actual good wide receiver,
Kayshon
Boutte, who's shown things on an NFL football field before.
Right. We're hell-bent on trading him, apparently, for several reasons. It's not just, it's not just because people think that Efton Chisholm is somehow capable of, filling a role here in this receiving core. But he's kind of like the new one, Sudfeld, as you mentioned. But, you look at, even for the big Super Bowl teams, I mean, like, Danny Amendola was never really consistently healthy. And even when he was, it didn't necessarily line up with Edelman being healthy at the same time. I mean, we had, post Randy Moss trade, right? We had, remember Deion Branch coming back in 2010? And the hype about that. And he had this explosion against the Bears. And we were just like, oh, my gosh. Wow, he is... Deion Branch is gonna help lead us to the promised land. Not quite. Wes Welker and Brandon Lloyd was a very palatable combination. I remember people hated on Brandon Lloyd. He put up a very good season here. The Edelman, Amendola, LaFell trio, that might be maybe your strongest since Randy Moss left. Obviously, there were stabs at Chad Ochocinco and Antonio Brown and different guys, try to bring them in and see if they would work here.
Reggie Wayne. Brandon Lloyd, good receiver, not a yak guy. He was not a fan of running with the football.
No. It was even the year that Brandon Cooks, I think, had the most receptions for the Patriots. And there was a guy that you were really looking forward to be a yak guy. But, I mean... I don't know. Like, with this, you've got A.J. Brown, who is he the most like talented receiver that the Patriots have had since Moss? Probably.
Yeah, I would have to say so, right? I mean, Brandon LaFell, good player. Like you mentioned, Lloyd, Cooks, good players. But
I mean, obviously Edelman.
Yeah, but he's not. Edelman wasn't even Wes Welker, in terms of talent, I don't think. Right. I think it's A.J. Brown, far and away. Yeah. I think Dobbs is pretty high on the list, too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, he can prove something to me here. certainly. I was never really like super in love with him with Green Bay. And again, like I look at a lot of stuff from a fantasy football perspective, right? But wasn't Romeo Doubs kind of the guy who was always on in a 10-team or 12-team league? Like he was there on the waiver wire. It's like, maybe I'll pick him up and he'll give you a good few games and then he'd get hurt. And it'll be like, all right, whatever. And then he's back on the wire again and somebody else will pick him up.
He kind of got lost in that all the Packers wide receivers were virtually giving you the same thing. No one really jumped out in that room, between him and, even Matthew Golden, a young player they brought in. But all those guys just kind of gave you the same thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Packers, if one of their guys had just popped, but no, instead you got 4 like above average receivers on the team at the same time, and 2 of them are always hurt. So yeah, it was tough, but yeah. So I mean, Romeo Doubs could grow me, but it's not just like looking at it from like, all right, AJ Brown is the Moss, and Doubs is certainly not the Welker, right? And he could show me some stuff, but it's the depth. I almost feel like Brad Stevens would love this Patriots receiver core. He would love the optionality.
I was waiting for it. The optionality. 735 for those who had it on their Sean Sylver bingo card tonight. Optionality.
But I mean, again, as Skaz just said, we've got a guy in Romeo Doubs who has proven, in Kayshon Boutte, who has proven, I don't know what I just did there. That was a weird noise that I made. Who's proven that he can play. Like really play at a playoff level and produce for this team. You've got Mac Hollins. He's had some success in this league. Like I don't love him as a number 1 or 2, but as a 3 or 4, yeah, I'm in. I mean, there's guys here who can do a lot of stuff for you, and it's all really sewn together by the fact that you have this elite. And I know he's not Randy Moss. He's not a future Hall of Famer. But, he's a Pro Bowl caliber, physical specimen. Not like the tallest guy in the world, but like just strong. Can get past you, can go up for it, can do all the things for Drake May that Drake May needs right now. And Stephon Diggs was great last year, and I really enjoyed the Stephon Diggs era in Boston, in New England, I guess you should say, in Foxborough. But these guys, they're going to let Drake May take the next step. And for a guy who's popping up as number 11 on the NFL 100 list, I don't know how you feel about that position, Skaz, but he's probably, because Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford have not popped up yet, he's probably the number 3 quarterback in the NFL. Again, it's the summer. Folks do lists. I'm not going to do a lot of lists talk tonight, but that was kind of the news this week that Drake May is thought of as the number 11 player in the NFL. And if he's going to make that jump to, truly challenge for the MVP award, the mantle of the best quarterback in the NFL and Super Bowl winner, these guys can give a lot of help. And it seems like they were really getting on the same page against the Eagles. Yeah, a couple interceptions thrown. I think Jake Seymour termed it. I mean, I was reading Seymour's article, but and probably a lot of people use this terminology, but the open even when he's covered idea with A.J. Brown, like, yeah, I can get Drake May trying to force something to happen because you got A.J. Brown the other side of that connection there. But it is what it is. And I'm just very interested to see what they do against the Eagles. Again, I know it's preseason. I'll tune in for a bit. It'll be right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub tomorrow, 7 o'clock kick.
So what I'm learning is Sean Sylver is buying the froth. You're in on the froth.
I'm in on the froth. Because, kind of like with the Bruins, right? I looked at it. Yeah, we will cross-pollinate much. I looked at it like the Patriots needed this lengthy reality check, right? Where they needed to build back up. Mike Vrabel's not going to come in here and just turn everything around. Well, I mean, it wasn't all Mike Vrabel. You've got a number of factors at play here, but
on the field.
Yeah.
On the field.
Yeah.
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 I just want to make sure I don't think Mike Vrabel had the best offseason.
Not the best offseason.
Off the field.
Off the field.
Solid football coach, though. I'll give him that.
Solid football coach. yeah, if you're just looking at on-field, though, a number of factors have coalesced here where the Patriots they're right back. It's unfathomable to my brain that this team didn't need a longer period of rebuild, refresh, reorganize, because markets like this, even with the Patriots dynasty, like look at a lot of other teams that are like, longtime strongholds in the NFL or have like a rich tradition, right?
Look at Pittsburgh. Look at the Giants. I mean, yeah.
Look at Washington.
Dallas. Any
Look
of these
at
teams,
Dallas. Yeah. You don't just get back to the Super Bowl like that. Ooh, that was a loud snap. But here we are, and it's pretty cool. So I'll buy the froth because, again, I'm Celtic Sylver. I'm, like the Patriots. Hey, you want to start up a bandwagon? I'm on, guy. I just enjoying it. So that's where I'm starting tonight. And yeah, this Sox-Giants game is going on. We'll get a headline. We'll take a break, and we'll talk a little bit about Raffy and whatever's clever at 617-779-0985. Sylver in for Joe tonight.
Sports Hub headlines.
Rafael Devers back at Fenway Park. A little over a year since the trade that made him a San Francisco Giant. Sox and Giants scoreless right now in the second inning. Trevor Story in the lineup tonight for the Sox for the first time in a long time. Patriots and Eagles will hit the preseason field tomorrow at 7. You can hear that call right here on
Around here, we call them the Joe Murray pre-party. It's Felger and Maz, afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Songs. Hate to say I told you so. I had no idea what they were saying, half of those shouting lyrics there, but I just the vibe. The vibe was immaculate.
A high energy group there.
Love a good high energy group. That would be that wouldn't be a terrible like walk-up song if you're coming to the plate. Or maybe if you're like a closer, that might be a good one. I don't know. You don't want to get too jittery in the box there.
The Hives are playing September 4th in Brazil, so still going, apparently.
Still going. I think they're big in Europe, right? I feel like they might have been European.
They are a Swedish band.
Swedish. Wonderful. Wonderful. They are not the lonely Swedish, as Tom Green once sang about. They have fans. They can play in Brazil. I just got some tickets today to a show. Letters to Cleo and the Sheila Divine. We're talking two prominent Boston acts on the same bill at the Dice. I haven't been to the Paradise in a while. I don't get out much. So I'm very excited. Very excited to be going to that. Very 90s, 2000s content, which I feel, fits in with my vibe. Those might have been some albums that I would have purchased from the Columbia House Record Club back in the day. I can't tell you, Skaz, how many people hit me up about that this week, that the Columbia House Record Club was going out of business. 4 months since I started a podcast, Cracked Review, about the premise is you pick a year, we get a vintage advertisement with a list of CDs, and you pick your 10 CDs. Just recorded with Joe the other day. So there will be a Joe Murray episode coming soon to the feed. I'm currently on summer break. I needed to go to Disney with my family. I need to take a little time off from the weekly grind of putting a podcast out there as a one-man show by choice. But if I want to do a good job, I need a little time to refuel. So that's what I'm doing presently. But the Columbia House 10 CDs for a penny deal. Now, the record club went out of business ages ago as Rafael Devers takes his second at bat over at Fenway. But apparently the DVD club kind of hung on as like, and if you don't know, now you know. This was like the thing in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Like this record club was started in the 50s. And it was a way where you could get like just a bulk, like 8 or 10 or 12, whatever the offer is, pieces of music, records, tapes, CDs, in one order for a penny, and then you're committed to the Record of the Month Club. So you're going to get a mailer every month where they're like, do you want this record? Do you want this CD? Do you want this DVD? And you had to say no, or else they'd send it to your house and make you pay for it.
Are any of those worth anything now?
What, the CDs?
Yes.
Yes.
So they are.
Physical media is coming back, as you and I were discussing.
But it, like, so say you you just had a subscription, they just kept sending you stuff. Could you be sitting on something now? A small fortune, a gold mine?
Well, they kept sending you stuff, but you had to pay for it.
Yeah, but you're saying it was cheap. It was, a couple cents or whatever.
The introductory rate was cheap.
Oh, and then they got you.
And then they got you, and they're going to be like, yeah, it's $19.99 for the plus shipping. So like you're going to buy your next CD, and it's like $25. So that was the thing. So there were two major music clubs out there. One was Columbia House, as Rafi Devers took a walk. One was Columbia House, and one was BMG Music Service. Columbia House, you would buy your 10 CDs, or you'd get the initial offer, you'd get your 10 CDs for a penny. They'd come to your house, you're like, oh man, I'm rolling it. But then you start getting the catalogs. And the fine print was that you had to buy like X number of CDs from the catalogs over the next 3 years to satisfy the commitment. With BMG, you would get like 10 for the price of one, so it's more than a penny. But you'd pay like $20 to get your 10 CDs, and you had no commitment going forward. So that was the one that I went with. I thought it was a better deal. I researched this thoroughly, and I made my choices from there. And, I remember getting that first order. It was tapes because I didn't have a CD player yet. And I got that first order in the mail, and I was like, "Oh man, this is so awesome! My music collection is going to grow so much," and it did because I stayed with the club for like 7 years, probably. I diligently returned the reply cards. Sometimes I forgot, and I got an album that I didn't want, and I still have those because I never threw away any of my music. I might have put some of them in a yard sale that I just didn't really want, but most of them I still have, and. And every now and then they'd have another deal. They'd be like, well, if you buy one, you could get 2 free this month. And I'd be like, yep, count me in. I'm picking up Jay-Z, Blink 182 and Third Eye Blind in one fell swoop. I'm doing that. And yeah, I wrote it until I went to college around 2000. And then I was just like, all right, I can't, this mail can't be coming to my mom and dad. Like, we got to get out now. And, obviously Napster hit. You could get your music for free with that. You had iPods, so nobody really enjoyed physical media anymore because you had iPods, and now we have streaming. And that's kind of the idea behind the podcast is that, hey, music has changed so much, but all of this physical media used to mean so much to us. We couldn't go on the internet and research the stuff that you read in the album notes, right? And you had your Walkman, and you had your Discman, and all the bands and records that you liked, that was your identity. So yeah, we have these kind of conversations week to week about music on Cracked Rear View. It's an indie pod. I'm not affiliated with anybody.
So you're allowed to talk about LimeWire on there and all the ways we used to get music back in the day?
LimeWire. There you go.
FrostWire.
I did a sin on LimeWire. What is this other wire that you're speaking of?
I think there was FrostWire for a time, too. They were all the same thing. It was you were stealing. You were stealing music back in the day.
Yes.
As a youth, we didn't know any better.
Truly. And it's crazy. I look at a lot of the burned CDs that I made, for myself, and the albums that are in my, it's Apple Music now. It's not iTunes anymore, but on my Apple Music on my computer, because I don't have a Spotify subscription. Actually, I'm cheap. My wife does. I don't.
I mean, that counts, right? You're on the same. You sneak in there.
I don't know. No, I have my own thing in my car, with my list of podcasts I listen to on Spotify. And obviously, I got Baseball Hour in there, and different 98.5 properties are in my podcast list. And, my wife's got her stuff and her books on tape or whatever. I don't know. It's not books on tape, any books on Spotify or whatever. And kids' music, right? So I got my own kids playlist in the truck. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that you asked are we sitting on a gold mine with all these CDs and tapes, because a few years ago I began to look, and there was a market for some of my tapes. And I was just like, that's interesting, because if you really think about it, with a lot of late 90s albums, when cassettes started going out and it became all CDs, there weren't a lot of tapes produced because nobody really wanted them anymore. But I was still buying them because I had a truck with a tape player in it. So I had a few tapes that weren't widely distributed, and I just put them on eBay, and I made several $100s just getting rid of cassettes. That I had everything digital. I didn't need the cassettes anymore. Still have a ton of my cassettes, so it was no great shakes. But I'll take the few $100. But I read a thing that in the first half of 2026, CD buying is up a ton over last year. And we've been living in this little vinyl revolution for the last couple of decades, ever since they had Record Store Day and record sales started coming back. CDs are outpacing vinyl right now. It's I don't know if millennials like me, I've been still buying used CDs for years. It's I don't have the greatest hits of this band. I'm just going to pick it up and, buy it on eBay, get it at a used CD shop, whatever, get this thing sent to my house, and now it's in my collection. You pay $5. But now it's getting popular, and it's like everything. It's going to be like baseball cards. It's going to be like everything, collectibles, toys. Now that the new generation wants this stuff, it's going to get expensive. So it's weird that this is the week that the Columbia House, now, like I said, the record club closed years ago, but apparently the DVD club was still a thing. Skaz and I were just looking at the offerings on the website. You'd seen some of these movies.
Not a very up-to-date website, I'd say.
No, but it was around.
It existed. I'll give it that.
And clearly nobody gave a crap. It was just existing, right? But the minute that they said they were going away, the just outpouring of, I wouldn't say grief.
I feel like this is a common thing, though. It's you don't know what you have till it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, here at the station, when the Choco Toco was taken from us, that was, I remember people freaking out about that, but it wasn't like people were buying them up in arms. It's just these things go away, at times, and then, we're reminded that bit of nostalgia will hit you, and then I think it kind of fades away after a while.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I mean, it will fade away, but I'm going to keep going with the pod. It's been fun. Like I said, Joe came on, that episode to come.
Some merch I've seen as well.
Adam 12 was on there. I've got my own T-shirts that a friend made up for me. A friend made a logo, and then another friend made a T-shirt website. I'm not great at, I have an Instagram account, a Facebook account for it. I'm not great at, making social media posts. I have, the free Canva thing, and I'll, put some graphics together with some with some clip from the show or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I guess that gets the gist of what I'm trying to talk about. Oh man, so we got people in the comments here. We got the chef Paul is out here. He's talking about, I got a bill from Columbia House in my mom's name for almost $600 for getting continuous CDs. Little did she know I put her name as a teenager. That was a trick. You could sign up under more than one name. You could get the deal more than once. So yeah, it's like a scam that everybody was kind of in on. If you weren't getting scammed by the company with them trying to make you, buy all these expensive CDs for them, you were trying to scam them. There have been some wild stories of professional scammers out there with Columbia House, but everybody remembers that. So that's why we're doing the pod. We did an Adam 12 episode. That one's on there right now. Obviously, he's in the Beasley family, so we can talk about that, right? My buddy Matt checking in. He heard The Calling has a new album out today. Skaz, are you aware of The Calling? Early 2000s?
I can't say that I am, no.
If I could, then I would.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Go wherever you will go. I need Joe Murray here to sing that.
It sounds like Lifehouse to me.
Very Lifehouse-ish. Lifehouse adjacent. Matt and I had a little two-piece acoustic guitar act going on, and they take it down that's expert.
Oh yeah, expert. That's why everyone's still doing that.
But you could have picked up the Calling CD off of Columbia House, and yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm past the point of shame. Crack Rear Review podcast. If you're interested, we've had some good guests so far. We're gonna keep it going, obviously. Thank you, Skaz. I needed that. I wasn't even a huge The Calling fan, but just some stuff, it just sticks to your ribs, We're
going to see if we can find some more stick to your ribs Sean Sylver songs coming in and out tonight.
Man, so we've hit the 8 o'clock hour. I don't know if you would call this going off the rails, but we've certainly gone somewhere because we're singing.
Yeah, it's the Joe Murray Show on a Friday.
Well, at least I'm singing. I should have taken a break at least 7 minutes ago, so let's do that right now. At 8:20, Brian Robb is going to join us. Love talking to B-Rob, so I'll be looking forward to that. We'll talk some NBA and Celtics. And, of course, Rafi Devers over at Fenway. All those topics on the board in the Sports Hub tonight.
Don't go anywhere.
FM at HD Boston. 98.5 The Sports Hub. A Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Is that Contreras right there? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The Red Sox now have a 3-1 lead on the Giants. That game in the bottom of the third inning as Wilson Contreras has just gone deep. Let's see, what's that on the season for Contreras? Trying to find the Red Sox box score right there, which is, I'm a great headlines guy here. Don't even have the box score. Where the heck is it here on ESPN.com? I'm flummoxed. There it is. Wilson Contreras, what was your over-under for him for homers this year? Skaz.
Well, I was told the Red Sox didn't have anybody that would hit 20 home runs this year.
That's what the nerds said.
I believe was that number 26?
26.
I would say that's over 20.
I was thinking 27 or 28 would be a good year for Contreras. He's there before September 1st, basically. 3-1 Sox. Raffy Devers back. The reports are the Boo Birds were out a little bit. Trevor Story also playing in this game. Taking a look at that box there. What did Story do? Wait. Where is he? He was supposed to be playing. Is he not in the lineup?
Worcester.
Thank you, Skaz. Thank you. We'll just shrug that off. Jets and Steelers right now in NFL preseason. That's 7-0 Jets early in that one. We got Panthers, Jaguars as well, Packers and Broncos. NBA news, the Miami Heat expect to be signing Klay Thompson following a buyout. DeMar DeRozan, a one-year deal with the Denver Nuggets. Soccer, the Revs host NYC FC Sunday at Gillette. The Boston Legacy on the road at North Carolina tomorrow. Great job, Sean, with that one. Headlines brought to you by Boston Prolotherapy. Don't let joint pain keep you off the course or trail. Eliminate that pain with Dr. Franke of Boston Prolotherapy. I'm Sean Sylver, Boston Over Sports, 98.5 The Sports Next update around 8:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Oh, man. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sylver in for Joe. It's not Sylver and Joe. We don't do two hosts at night anymore. It's just Sylver or Joe.
Yeah. No.
Although, this...
have to actually pay people for that to happen, Sean.
I was just going to gloss over that part, much like I glossed over the fact that I thought Trevor Story was back with the Red Sox tonight. I don't know what gave me that. What gave me that impression? I'll admit when I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'd like to think often I am wrong on silly things, but when it's important, I get it right. Trevor Story, silly thing to me, just a silly thing. Do you want him back?
Trevor Story.
Yeah.
No, I don't. For a time, I will say, Sean, I thought I did. I thought this team needed Trevor Story. I thought his presence would be maybe a welcome one for some of the middle infielders there, but I truly believe that Andrew Monasterio and Nick Sogard and the Seagull, Anthony Siegler, are better baseball players at this point in time than Trevor Story. And I don't know what Trevor Story could possibly do over the next week or two to make me feel otherwise. I don't think he's a very good baseball player anymore.
Yeah. I mean, he did have that little stretch last year where he was looking great. But that's all it was a stretch. And, sometimes players can find fool's gold for a little bit. It seemed like he did. There was, some thoughts that maybe Story was getting some good pitches to hit, because of some of the stuff surrounding his at-bats, to say the least. But I don't know. They've been doing the job. It's not a premium middle infield, certainly, from a defensive nor from a hitting standpoint. And I'm kind of wondering if, and like I said, Anna Russo, Section 10, I believe she came up with Fenway Franklin as an update, or as a nickname, for Franklin Arias, which is perfect. Fenway Frank. Yeah, come on. I like that one. Ooh, Jaron Duran. Did that go off the knob of the bat or off his hand? Let's see. Looks like the knob of the bat. So is that a foul?
I believe he was awarded first base.
He was awarded first base. Maybe he got his pinky. But yeah, no. So you're okay with this Cruz, Skaz? You're not pushing for a Franklin Arias call-up? Maybe to catch lightning in a bottle like they did with Bogarts in 13?
I would welcome Franklin Arias much, much, much more than I would welcome Trevor Story at this point, just from an upside and a vibes perspective. I think Franklin Arias certainly could give you a boost in that. He's a young guy who seems to be playing well every step he's taken. He hasn't really had any major hiccups. So I would much rather, if I had to choose Franklin Arias or Trevor Story to get the call-up, I am taking Arias 10 times out of 10.
There it is. There it is from the mouth of Skaz. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm a sympathetic kind of guy. I just am. I wanted to give Trevor Story a chance like 3, 4, 5 times. But the reality is he's just not been a very good player over his entire Boston tenure, save for that little stretch last year. And if you were to tell me that the Trevor Story that went on that run in 2025 is the guy you're getting back for September in the playoffs, then sign me up. But there's really nothing, you're right, Skaz, there's nothing really that separates him from these other guys who've impacted winning. Now the question of what do they do with him is a good one. Because, he's at least with Masataka Yoshida has actually been productive for the team this year. But when you're talking about kind of would he have been an odd man out if Roman Anthony returned, right, and needed DH at bats, or or say you put him in the outfield and you got to move one of the other outfielders to DH? Would Masataka Yoshida have had his role cut into? And then you've potentially got a guy who's making some money, veteran on the team who's disgruntled. Well, Mas is hurt. So, that makes it easy, right, to figure out what to do. But as far as, what's up with that bat? Seeing a bat here on Nesson, colorfully decorated bat there from Monasterio. Looks like he should be playing for the Savannah Bananas with that one. Bananas are coming to town next weekend, too. I don't know. Maybe I need to see if I can get some tickets. Sox putting on a show tonight. Bases are loaded. And Rafael Devers is back and got booed. I do want to hit on that. Like I said, Anna Russo is coming up during the 9 o'clock hour. She'll be talking to us after this game gets over at Fenway. Brian Robb coming up next. The great B-Rob, Celtics scribe. You can hear him on our airwaves as well. Chiming in as a producer on the weekends, and obviously a guest of mine, which I'm very excited about, coming up next.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sport.
The hub. And as the summer rolls along, it has been a turbulent one, to say the least, for the Boston Celtics. Obviously, we all know the big news item. What we're left with is, well, to paraphrase Filter, where do we go from here? Yeah. Celtics with some video release this week. Celtics All Access. Brad Stevens kind of had his say in a non-press conference sort of way, hyping up what Paul George is going to mean to the Celtics. And, definitely check that out this week. And the rest of the league making some little moves. Seems like the Celtics are done, that they did what they did. And now this is the era that we're in. To discuss all of those things, I want to bring on Brian Robb of Mass Live. B-Rob, Skaz and I were trying to figure out, and I don't know if we've ever had this conversation, what's B-Rob's music vibe? Skaz just went with Weezer right there. Was that a good choice?
That's a good choice. I'm kind of all around the board, but Weezer's definitely in the mix. So, well done, Skaz.
I feel like a lot of people hate on Weezer for like their more recent work. But I mean, hey, you got to credit a band that's just stuck around this long time. They made a couple of masterpieces, right? And they've just been a working man's band for years. Yeah,
anyone starts out in the 90s, early 2000s. Like that's right in our wheelhouse. I'm sure they're
maybe we'll get a little sing-along going. Hey, I know the last time I talked to you, I think it was early August, you were kind of coming off a summer league and all the busyness of that. I was about to take a little family vacation. I'm now back from that. But you, sir, should still be at rest, at repose here, because training camp is a little ways off. You're joining me here on a Friday night at 8:20. I appreciate you, but have you been able to get any rest here with this NBA calendar, or are they still working you hard over there?
It's let up for sure in the last couple of weeks. And first of all, I mean, talking hoops with you, Sean Sylver, that is 100%. It could be midnight in the middle of the summer, and I would not turn that down. So let's be real there. It's the Celtics at 7 reunion here that we have to.
Celtics at 7 for life.
Stand by forever. But yeah, even still, like you said, we got our quote unquote our Paul George, Mike Conley press conferences this week with that video the Celtics released. We got that was. We say it was nothing, but that was still noteworthy to some degree. And then even, we heard from Bill Chisholm this week as well in one of the few times he's spoken this summer after this Jaylen Brown trade. So it has finally started to slow down from a Celtics perspective, but the league has really not gone into a complete cocoon here with these, moves that are small pieces getting picked up around the league. But honestly, the Eastern Conference keeps building up more and more here as these more moves come into play, and it's fascinating to see the Celtics kind of made their trades, got their free agents right out of the gate, start of the summer, and are pretty much standing pat and thinking this is what we're going to roll with, and we're going to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I do want to hit on a couple of those deals. Just some of them just coming out today. I saw that you reported on the Klay Thompson to the Heat deal. I don't feel like that's a big needle mover necessarily. I mean, you may disagree, and I'll certainly give you your space on that. But one that intrigues me is what the Nuggets have done this week. Obviously, shipping out a player that looked like was a potential future piece there, decided he was too expensive for them, and then just within the last couple hours, picking up DeMar DeRozan on a 1-year deal. The thing that's interesting to me is the Nuggets are sticking with their 2 stars and kind of working around the fringes. The Cavs got James Harden back this week, and obviously we're on the other side of that Nuggets trade. They're working around the fringes to have 2 superstars, well, quote-unquote superstars, and then deal with the rest. The Celtics decided to go in a completely different way.
Yeah, it is a fascinating comparison of how that's going to go. And the Nuggets situation, I don't know. I guess DeRozan in my mind is like a pretty massive downgrade, at least defensively, compared to like Peyton Watson there.
Right.
But they pretty much put themselves in the corner with the amount of money they committed with other big contracts on the roster, and then just trading away all the draft picks for years and years leading up to this. So, if anything, they might be, a cautionary tale for what Brad Stevens was trying to avoid by getting off of Jalen's contract this summer. But they do still have the continuity there. The Cavs, for the most part, have the continuity there. They're bringing in, I think, a intriguing guy in with Watson to give someone who can actually guard on the perimeter next to Harden and Mitchell, which will be big. But I think it was clear, Sean, the front office did not think they would be able to put the right supporting cast around Tatum and Brown by taking the deal that they did.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can argue all day in terms of what the return was and whether this was the right time. Should they have waited out? Could they have squeezed more out of Philly? I think those are all very valid claims, but it's clear that once they made that choice, which seemed to have come even, before the end of the season, based on the fact that the reports were there even having Jalen Chalks during the season last year for trades. They just clearly just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off now. And whether that's the right move or not, obviously very much remains to be seen, but we're going to see these other teams kind of go down the more familiar path, the more let's just ride for continuity and hope things kind of fall back into place. And it'll be fascinating to see which side kind of comes out ahead on that front.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and the Nuggets, have had pretty much the exact same amount of playoff success as the Celtics have had the last couple of years, which is not much. Things haven't certainly worked out for the Cavs the way that maybe they could have pictured getting out of the Eastern Conference. So they're riding with it. The Celtics chose to pivot. I've gone through, whatever the requisite number of stages of grief, has been on the whole Jalen thing. I'm now at the point where I can actually look at it and kind of see both sides and, get over the fact that, the Celtics gave up on a generational player and, obviously someone we all rooted for here for a long time. But, was there anything that was said this week between the Chisholm appearance, the press conferences, the video online, which again, and you've done Winning Plays and Still Potable, and from a podcast perspective, you can edit yourself, and obviously what the Celtics said was exactly what they wanted to say, in that video that they put out, kind of introducing the new guys. I mean, is there anything that was said that makes you think slightly differently, say from the initial press conferences and exchanges that we got about these moves?
Yeah, I think I'm fascinated from the Paul George standpoint of this, Sean, of you have, Brad talking pretty highly about him in the video in terms of what the fit is for this team, which you can kind of see to a degree when he is healthy. He's 36. His biggest problem, obviously, is availability, but he's still an elite 3-point shooter. He's always been a pretty good defender in his career. And he's okay kind of taking a back seat to a guy like Tatum at this stage of his career. And so I'm fascinated to see just how much they lean into him this season and seeing what it looks like with that versus knowing that his contract is obviously going to be the next move.
Right.
For whatever comes to replace Jaylen Brown. Since this was I don't know if it's a Band-Aid on a situation here, but he's a guy that allows them to stay relatively competitive in the short term, but knowing that his age and contract leads to the point where it's okay, if you're going to find a second star to bring in here next to Tatum, or just bring in 2 or 3 more younger parts that line up with him age-wise, he's the logical piece to go out the door, whether that's
right
next trade deadline, next summer, et cetera. So I'm fascinated to see, knowing that, whether he is going to be featured as prevalently as he probably thinks he should be, or whether that's something where he's going to be on the Al Horford plan and maybe even less than that, and the younger wings on this roster are going to be given as much, if not more, opportunity on a game-in, game-out basis.
B-Rob, something that just stood out to me this week, and it's It's something Bill Chisholm said across the street, and it's not the first time he's said it. And we've talked about it at night. I think it's something that I don't know if it's Celtics fans just want to blame ownership or the money or whatever it is, but Bill Chisholm has now said multiple times that he needed to be convinced to trade Jaylen Brown. And Joe Mazzulla's been on record multiple times saying he had zero input in the Jaylen Brown trade. And maybe it's naive of me to think that this was a Brad Stevens directive, but since the trade has happened, I've felt that way. I know that's probably the minority opinion, but everything that's come out from the Celtics feels as though their messaging is that this was a Brad Stevens decision. Do you think that's the case? And if it isn't the case, why is that the message?
No, I agree with you guys. I think it's 100%. This is from Brad, and this is a calculation. Because if you look at Chisholm, and again, to his credit, he was very candid about this in his interview this week, as he was last month, of being like, this is not a move you make where you're going to get absolutely killed for this move. And they knew it was going. I don't know if they knew it was to this degree, obviously in terms of how much this perturbed the fan base out of the gate. But when you're the new owner in town and you already had to just take apart a title team last offseason, and now you're like, all right, now we want to trade Jaylen. It's one thing to okay, we're going to trade Jaylen. Like, okay, great. What are we going to get? A bunch of first round picks? No, we're going to get 2 first round picks and one of the worst contracts in the league, and we're also trading him to the 76ers. How many nights do you think it took them to convince Chisholm of that, Scott? Do you think that was a weeks, a few days? It
might have taken him a couple. It might have taken him a couple months, B-Rob, if the reporting is true that they were trying to move him during the season. So that's kind of why I do believe that it was such a Brad directive.
Exactly. So that's the thing. It's when they clearly canvassed the league a lot, and so in a potential in-season move like we heard about, they were shooting for the moon of being like, can we get all the Warriors' future picks and take a bad contract and Jimmy Butler? That's an easy sell from a standpoint of being like, we can do a lot of those picks. Those picks have a lot of value in the future. But then clearly, as this summer unfolded, once they missed on Giannis, deals came off the table around the league. And I don't know if the Sixers were the last, person, at the dance there for them, but ultimately there wasn't a lot out there because the guys that other teams that were interested, like the Wolves went for LaMelo Ball, the Raptors went for Kawhi. So the teams where you thought they might make a run at Jaylen, they came off the table, and that left the Celtics with picking probably the least appealing option from a public standpoint, but the one that clearly. But Brad Stevens said, "You know what? I don't care. It's picks that we want, and we don't want to be stuck with this contract going forward. So we're going to pull the Band-Aid off now." So I genuinely believe Chisholm when he says that, because I think any owner would probably be in the same boat.
If you were to run it back even further, though, B-Rob, think about when a lot of these deals were made, and obviously in 23, we brought in Porzingis and Holiday, but through 24, post title defense, right? They were signing guys at long-term money, and it was just kind of this isn't going to last very long, is it? There's no way that they can. There was just no way that you could pay that amount of money over the term that they had given all those guys. So, in a way, it's a brutal kind of reaction to all of that. But you had it one way, and now we're having it the other way. And Brad Stevens is just kind of was that a Wick directive, do you think, at the time, to just, run and gun with this core for as long as we could, and then when it showed that it wasn't working out, then you had to strip it away, and obviously you have a new governor now with the team.
Yeah, I think that legitimately was the strategy, Sean, in terms of they knew this window was going to end of being all right, once the second apron hits hard, we're not going to be able to sustain this, obviously, and we've been they stayed out of the tax for a few years in the early 2020s. So it's okay, we can kind of push our chips in now.
It really did.
And what the fascinating part for me is you knew last offseason we had, when they ultimately traded Porzingis and Holiday, what were they taking? What were the offers for Jaylen then, compared to now? And then ultimately, I thought the only way Jalen would have ever finished his contract here if you win a second title here at some point, or just sustain a deeper run, then you can justify it more. But once that went away, then it clearly became, okay, like, what do we know we're going to have to, he's not going to finish this contract here if we're moving in the wrong direction as far as the playoffs go. And so that's why I thought, like, okay, this may have happened a year earlier than everyone would have suspected, but we knew ultimately this is probably the path they're going to go down if they weren't, perennial finals players at this point.
Yeah. So we're here, right? And I know you had a recent mailbag where one of the askers said, what happens these back-to-backs when, as you alluded to earlier in the call, the Al Horford treatment. Paul George inevitably takes nights off. Obviously, you're in touch with Summer League and some of the stuff that came out of there. I mean, who's going to take the weight? Who's going to come off the bench maybe and fill on those nights that Paul George can't go? Or even, more from a long-term perspective here, if the Celtics are doing something with Paul George's contract to get back to some sort of, prominence with their roster, who do you think is well positioned to step up and make an advance this year, a la, last year when we got more, say, out of Baylor Shireman or Jordan Walsh, those type of players?
Yeah, I think Ugo is the guy I will have my money on that front.
Yeah.
I honestly think, I don't know what you guys saw, like, I thought he should have been playing more in the playoffs in that Sixers series before Game 7. Like, he got pulled out of the rotation kind of for the last month of the year, as Joe Mazzulla went to 9 guys. And just based on, he's far from the perfect player at this point, but he played with great energy. His plus-minus numbers were kind of through the roof all year long. And so if he can continue developing that jump shot, the defensive ability and the length is there, where I feel like he's someone who will be able to take pressure off Tatum, take the pressure off of Paul George if he ends up being that fifth starter all year long. And then on nights when Paul George can't go, I think it's going to be probably the same rotation by committee again, like we saw last year, where it's Shireman, Walsh, Ron Harper Jr., someone who might be just totally out of the rotation entirely. Okay, you're coming in, you're playing 20 minutes this night because we don't have to disrupt the rest of our rotation if we do move like that. So I'm fascinated to see, Sean, like the wing depth, the young wing depth on this team is tremendous right now. And it's going to be a fun training camp to see kind of who emerges out of the pack there and whether ultimately one of these guys becomes, not trade bait, if you will, but like expendable from a standpoint of if they need to upgrade other parts of the roster. Like you wonder here if like who's going to make the cut, who's going to be part of long-term plans, and who's just going to be a potential nice trade chip for helping out somewhere else down the line.
Any preference? I mean, putting aside, I guess any sort of smoke that you might have heard about, like just out of those kind of bench pieces, is there someone that you would like to really see step up and be like that guy that we're relying on and that's a part of the fabric of this team for the next, say, half decade? Do you have a favorite, B-Rob? Take your journalism hat off.
From what the team is I think people around the team are very high on Ugo.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, from just what he has from his age, from his, he's 5 years younger than Shireman. I think he's got more offensive upside than Walsh, even though Walsh is still only 22 years old. So I think that's the guy who can kind of can grow into more of a complete package from that front. But I don't know. I was stunned how far along like Shireman came along in the last year. Yeah. Like that was a guy who couldn't hit a shot for 5 months of his rookie year, and then he was, I think, as consistent as anyone off the bench for the last couple months of the year. So I know he's older, but like that's still someone. If it's next to Ugo, I put him as the next guy who I would expect to be someone who's going to be here for the long haul. Since if they have to do more trimming of salary along the line, and you lose a Sam Hauser type because of that, then Shireman might end up being like someone who can kind of step in and give you 80 to 90% of what Hauser's able to.
Right. And Ugo affects winning, which I believe is the term that Brad is using almost as much as optionality. Mike Conley affects winning. Mitchell Robinson affects winning. All of these guys. And Ugo, even though Ugo averaged about 3 or 4 points a game last year, if that jump shot comes along, he'll be affecting even more winning with the development of that offensive game. Brian Robb, Mass Live, the Still Potable Boys. You are one of the hardest working guys on the Celtics beat, and I appreciate you, and I will be calling you back at midnight to just make sure that you weren't just pulling my chain there.
We didn't talk any Mitchell Robinson yet. We have got to get into Matt Conley. There's a lot to go on, Sean, but keep up the great work. Always, you and Skaz, always a great listen on these summer nights, so
yeah,
keep it
man.
up.
Get to the rest of your Friday night, and we'll put a pin in that Mitchell Robinson conversation. I love my big man talk. So, Brian Robb, thanks for joining us here on the Joe Show.
All right, thanks, guys.
Have a good one. B-Rob. B-Rob was the producer for my very first shift here at 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It had to be a Saturday afternoon, I'd imagine, no?
It was not. It was not, actually. It was Celtics at 7.
Oh, my apologies, of course. Where else would Sean Sylver start?
Well, it was Celtics at 7 with Adam Kaufman. I was the update guy. And I was actually telling this to Zeke when he did his
lot of takes flying around,
his first
I'm sure.
headlines. Yeah, sure. I mean, I learned at the left hand of Adam Kaufman at Celtics at 7. It was surreal. And I was telling this to Zeke. I got to the station. I thought that I had plenty of time when I left my house. I didn't. I got to the station. Now I roll in like 10 minutes before the show.
You're a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, I'm a seasoned veteran. I generally know what's going to happen out there on the roads at different times. Watch the next time I come in, it's going to get screwed up and I'll be late. I've never been really late for a show. The only time I was really late was when I literally had a car accident on my way to the studio. I fishtailed on an icy morning, getting on the ramp at 495, hit a Jersey barrier, and it was like, well, this is my first time that I'm going to be filling in on Toucher and Rich for Wallach, so I got to get there. So my tire was making a thum, but I just drove it. I couldn't drive over 40 miles an hour. So I called Tracy, and I'm just like, hey, I think it was Johnson and Flynn were in. I called Tracy, and I'm like, hey, I had a car accident. I'll be getting there as quickly as I can. And she's like, all right, I'll have Johnson do the headlines. And I got there, and I don't know if RJ knew that I had a car accident, because it was kind of. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember it super clearly because my adrenaline was through the roof. But I got there, I was late. RJ had already done 2 headlines. It was 6:40, and I was just like, I'm sorry. And then later I said I actually got into a car accident coming here. And then Flynn was like, what? You didn't say anything? I was like, well, no, I just felt bad that I was late. But yeah, my first shift I got here, and I was like, all right, I still got 15 minutes, to log in, and I've got my script. So I'll go into my email or whatever it was. I'll bring up my script. I'll be good. I couldn't get my login credentials to work. So I'm just like, and this is not, I don't think I had Google Docs or anything. So it's not like I had this on my phone. This is 2014. This is another era. I don't think I had my headline script on my phone or anything. So I don't even know what happened with the first headline. I think B-Rob just skipped it. I think we literally just skipped it. And I came back around for the 7:30. But my debut here was about as great as you could possibly imagine. Auspicious. Oh, man. 617-779-0985. Thanks to B-Rob. Always great chopping it up with him. He does great work. You should read him. You should listen to him. I know I do. And, let's not shortchange our other Celtics podcast in the room. Green Teamers, you coming back for another season next year, Skaz?
God willing, we'll be there,
All
Sylver.
right.
Nice. Me and Jake Seymour holding it down. He's the real Big J journalist. I'm just a guy that has some thoughts and watches a lot of basketball.
Hey, you do a great job. That's another one that I enjoy. Like I said, that I'm not paying for Spotify, but my podcast feed is loaded. All right, and we got a lot of good stuff on there that we got to listen to. So, I make my weekly rounds. 617-779-0985. let's take a break here. Let's get a headline and recharge here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Kept B-Rob on for like a solid 20 minutes there. That was quite the phone call. I hope I he didn't seem to feel like I was taking away from his Friday night, but I hope he's up to something good now. Even that's just relaxing, that would be fair. All right. Rafael Devers has homered.
Felger and Maz are just his pregame.
They've been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Zone.
Hardy.
I was going to say Hardy had to be there.
Of course. Beetle. Kristen Sermon was there. It was funny because I knew that they were going to the show. This was like pre-COVID. It was the 25th anniversary of New Miserable Experience, which it gun to my head, top 5 album of all time. I know it's the Gin Blossoms, and for some people that may be a bridge too far. It's a great album. No skips. # no skips. But I knew they were going, so I was looking forward to seeing them at the show. I walk in. I forget what the bar is next to. Oh, where was it? Where were we? Why can I not? Are we at the Paradise? I don't know. Probably, maybe. I'd have to think. Wherever it was, we're at the bar next door, and I walk in and I just hear, "Hey, it's my cousin who lives near Portland, Maine." And, I see him a few times a year, and I had no idea he was going to the show. So that was great. And then, of course, joined by all the Sports Hub folk who enjoyed the Gin Blossoms concert. I think Hardy, or maybe it was Beetle. I think Beetle had an in and arranged some FaceTime with the Blossoms. I didn't go to be a part of that. I was just hanging out with my cousin.
No FaceTime with the Blossoms for Sean Sylver.
And it's fine. It's fine. I respect their work, but
don't meet your heroes,
You're right. Right. I'm generally like a don't meet your heroes guy, unless it's like a completely organic situation. Like, hey, I'm on the Cape and I'm at the same bar as blank, and I'm not pestering that person, right, by going, because I hate inconveniencing people. I literally my whole life and every day I'm like, am I inconveniencing this person by asking them to do something? So great for me, like launching a podcast and then like reaching out to people to ask if I can take up an hour of your time to be on my podcast. Because it's like, hey, would you consider potentially joining my podcast, and we'll talk about this, and I appreciate your time. Please just consider it if you would. It's just like, so, oh God, like a famous person who just literally their whole life is getting inconvenienced. I was on Lisa Loeb's Instagram the other day. Do you know who Lisa Loeb is, Skaz?
Sounds familiar.
The song Stay, I Missed You. You say, only hear what I want to.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, like that one, right? So I follow her Instagram. I would love to get Lisa Loeb on my podcast. It's my listens are in the hundreds right now. I think I need to be like more established to get, certain people. So it's a slow burn. I will get to it. But I'm on Lisa Loeb's Instagram because I follow her. I mean, the reason I would like to get Lisa Loeb on is because not only is she, have a number 1 hit in 1994 and an accomplished music career that's actually quite diverse and varied, but she also is a DJ. She's on the 90s on 9 channel on Sirius XM. So it's just like, I would love to talk music with Lisa Loeb.
She also won a Grammy for Best Children's Album in 2018.
There's the diverse and varied part of the discography, right? So, yeah. I feel like we would hit it off on a future podcast episode. But I saw her post that she was like, it was so cool. Oh, it was Steve Martin's birthday, like literally the Steve Martin, the comedian, actor, And she was like, just remembering the time, it's Steve Martin's birthday, remembering the time that like he came in to sing on this song or play banjo, because he's like a bluegrass musician, Steve Martin is. And I stopped and I thought about it, and I was like, Steve Martin, a guy who could literally be doing anything, anywhere, with anyone, apparently thought enough of Lisa Loeb that he would go in and play his banjo on a children's album. He sang a song about like bananas or caterpillars or something, and spent a day with her making a song. And it's just like, to get to, not that I like aspirational of this at all. Like, my life is what my life is, and it works for what it is. Like, if you get famous or something, things change. People change.
She's a Berkeley graduate, local ties.
Look at that, local ties. So there we go. But it's just like, to be on the level of notability where you could just be like, hey, Steve Martin, will you play banjo on my children's song? And he says yes. Like, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Sean Sylver's fun fact of the night right there.
There could be a lot of fun facts.
Lisa Loeb's big break. Are you aware how it came?
She was neighbors with Ethan Hawke. Maybe?
You're a Lisa Loeb expert, Sean Sylver. Yes.
And Ethan Hawke starred in the film Reality Bites, which is directed by Ben Stiller, who also starred in it. Winona Ryder was in it as well. I never saw this movie, but I had the soundtrack on tape. It was a big hit in the summer of '94, and Lisa Loeb had her little band. She knew Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke, I guess, stumped for the song to be on the soundtrack, despite the fact that she did not have a record deal. They put the song on the soundtrack and went to number one. It was the first ever song by an indie artist to be number one on the Billboard Hot 100. So we actually did a 2-part 90s soundtrack episode on Cracked Review that you can check out. And we talk quite a bit about Reality Bites during the 1994 segment. So, I don't know. So, to get back to the Gin Blossoms, I love the Gin Blossoms. Masterpiece of an album. So, Skaz, you hit me. You got me right in the feels. Though, hey, Jealousy, like, songs that get overplayed, right?
Of course. We had Riley in here doing that very bit with Sean Sylver not too long ago.
Yes. Little Live Free or Rye. I only got to work with Riley, 2-3 times, I think, through the course of the summer. I feel honored that I was there for her last day earlier this month. She made quite an impact on this program. We've had a good crop of interns this summer. Been working hard. Here comes one now.
I can't get rid of them.
Big market tease there, as we'll have a little intern takeover later in this program here. It's a Friday night in late August, and I hope Joe is well wherever he is. Yeah, Joe interviewed Shaq this week.
I saw that. Joe Murray and Shaquille O'Neal.
Did you hear this?
Well, I heard the very beginning. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. But,
I heard it on. It was on.
And so they did
Touch
play
Hardy this morning. They played it, and the first thing that Shaq said is, "You look like if me and Charles Barkley had a baby. You look like our love child."
Okay, so I heard something maybe that was said even before that, but I enjoy that as well. Apparently some bathroom issues maybe for Shaq before they started recording, which is extremely fitting, for one night show and one Joe Murray. But I'll have to ask Joe Murray about that personally when I see him.
See if it was quick and smelly.
Yes, but apparently there may have been some a slight delay in him showing up, due to the Hershey Highway situation.
Well, Shaq, he was plugging Big Chicken. I don't know if this is a big chicken issue.
I heard there was some big chicken here today, courtesy of Shaq.
Ooh. Oh, man. You think there's any leftovers?
No.
No. I mean, my lovely wife, as I was getting together my headlines where I said that Trevor Story was playing for the Red Sox tonight for some reason. Well, I was putting my headlines together before I left the house. The kids were settling down to watch Camp Rock on the Disney Channel, and we just went to Disney, so Disneyland. We had a great time, but they learned about Camp Rock while they were there, and now they want to watch Camp Rock. So they're watching Camp Rock, which I believe there's probably some Jonas Bros in there, maybe a Demi Lovato appearance. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. I was in the dining room, and my wife was like, "Do you want a grilled cheese?" Well, I'm making the kids grilled cheese. I was like, I would love a grilled cheese, but that grilled cheese now was 3.5 hours ago.
It's a cold cheese now.
Yeah. Well, no, I ate it. It's it's
long gone.
It's been digested, right?
Couple of bags of chips out there if you want them.
Okay.
Some Miss Vicky's, I believe.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe some salt and vinegar, Miss Vicky's. I don't know. I won't ask for too much.
I think it's barbecue.
What? Oh, that would be great. That would be great. So yeah, But Joe and Shaq, I realize, like, I totally blew the clock here, but I don't particularly care unless you do, Skaz. Joe asked Shaq, of course, about the statue in Harvard Square. Skaz, do you recall Shaq's statue stunt in Harvard Square? Because that's a favorite of mine. Even though the Shaq era in Boston wasn't particularly great, I bought the hype. I love to live in the froth, right?
You're a frother, Sylver, for sure.
Like my Uncle Larry used to say when he'd make this vicious drink around the holidays. He had a big shaker, and he'd put like egg yolks in there, and he'd shake it up, and he'd just, the egg yolks, they make it a bit frothy. I live in the froth.
I don't recall the Shaq statue.
So Shaq went to Harvard Square. He had just arrived in Boston, so it's like October. So, people are getting hyped about the Celtics. The season hasn't started yet. And he was just in Harvard Square one day, and he tweets out, "Come on out to Harvard Square. I'm going to be posing as a living statue." So, like, he was retelling it to Joe, kind of like making it sound like it was this organic thing, but I'm pretty sure he sent the message out on Twitter. I actually wrote an article on 985thesportshub.com about this back during COVID when it was just like, let's think of a fun thing that happened in the past and remember it. I actually talked to B-Rob about that, about Shaq posing as a statue and his era in Boston. And because, that would have been 2010. So in 2020 would have been like 10 years ago, Shaq was a statue. But it was awesome. It was just like he literally just like sat on a bench, just like posing like the thinker or whatever. And every few minutes he would switch positions, but people were just taking pictures with him or like giving him bunny ears. And it was just like this cool little experiment that he
did. The only Shaq social media thing I really remember is when I believe it was Chris Angel had him fly over the house. Very realistic, very well done, very well produced. You remember the Mind Freak? Chris
I remember
Angel?
The Mind Freak. I don't have any awareness of this stunt.
I will send it to you, and you will enjoy it. Maybe during the break you can watch it and report back. But yes, they very clearly he levitates Shaq over Shaq's own mansion. It's quite a piece of video editing, I'll say.
Well, now, right, like Bryson DeChambeau is trying to hit hole-in-ones over the roof of his house. I don't know if you've seen this
Unfortunately, I have seen most things Bryson DeChambeau has done.
All right. Well, there's that, and apparently there's Shaq levitating over a house. So take that for what you will. Oh, we got some ins and outs to get to. We got a good show still to come here. I know that Anna Russo from Section 10 is still at the park because this Sox-Giants game is, like I said, just a gaggle of base runners over there. So we'll be talking to her when this game's over. I think it's always good to catch up with Russi. And, Skaz and I are just going to keep you company. Intern Zeke's back in the house. I think he enjoyed a nice dinner. I'll have to figure out where he went and what he had, and we will make a full assessment of that meal. Hopefully no bathroom follies after that. 617-779-0985. For God's sake, it is a Friday night in late August. Sylver is in for Joe Murray. It's after 9 o'clock. Just get in here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, this is
strong finger all up and go.
This is home of the 18.
this hour. Carolina with a 26 lead on Jacksonville at the half. The Jets 7-0 lead on Pittsburgh. That one at the start of the fourth quarter. Green Bay and Denver scoreless. Dongless. Couple of NBA moves earlier today. Klay Thompson reportedly going to join the Miami Heat following a buyout. And DeMar DeRozan to the Denver Nuggets on a one-year deal. Your headlines brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Don't put off losing weight this summer. Reach your goal during the easiest season for weight loss. Awaken 180, the official weight loss program of summer. I'm Sean Sylver, Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update, about 20 minutes.
Diving effort. But he's got a breakaway. The backhand. Throws it in front. Coming to the spot. The Sports Hub.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out? Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best. Success is guaranteed.
Twice in a week I get to do in or out with Skaz. It's a good time. I got a few for Skaz, and I'm sure Skaz has a few for me. Like I said, the Sox game taking a little longer than we thought, so we're pushing back our conversation with Anna Russo. Still graciously, she will be joining us later in this program. We're going to have some time with intern Zeke later. Lots of stuff to look forward to. But right now, I mean, would you say, is this like the segment of the show?
I would say in or out is certainly at the top of a lot of people's, Joe Murray favorites.
Joe Murray power rankings.
Yes, when he does his picks, those are always popular football season. The musings are a favorite as well.
That's an original kind of. That's like the OG of Joe Murray segments.
Of course,
the musings.
Yes, but in or out, a family favorite for decades. We'll say Sean Sylver.
For sure.
A Friday night, August 21st edition of In or Out. Sean Sylver, let's start with some video games. You're a video gamer, Sean Sylver.
Interesting how you asked that. Sean Sylver also can never give like a straight answer.
No, of course not, yeah.
I have...
when was the last time you played a video game?
Maybe a couple weeks ago. I have 3 functional video game systems in my house. I have a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, and a PlayStation 2.
All right, so let me ask you this, Sean Sylver.
Yeah.
The U.S. Army has offered soldiers a 4-day pass to play the new Grand Theft Auto 6 early as an incentive to re-enlist for an additional 2 to 6 years of service. 20 soldiers have already accepted this program. Sean Sylver, would you accept a 4-day pass to play Grand Theft Auto 6 as an incentive to re-enlist for an additional 2 to 6 years of military service?
Well, here's the thing. Probably the people who are re-enlisting, I mean, again, the key term here is re-enlisting.
It is, yes.
They've already served.
They have.
They probably enjoy it. And why not take the perk, right?
I don't know, 4 days of Grand Theft Auto 6? I don't know.
Think about it, times 24 hours. You could just binge play that whatever.
I need some extracurriculars to make that 4-day pass worth it, I think.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I've never had to serve, right? So I don't know what that's like. I'm in a position of... what would I say? A position of privilege here to even make a statement on that. So I would say, yeah, if 20 soldiers have re-upped their commitment, then clearly they're invested in the idea of being a member of our armed forces, and they just would love to play some GTA. So, hey, smoke them if you got them, right?
I guess so. Why not? From Grand Theft Auto to the world of Pringles for this next one. Pringles fans.
Is this the hot dog bun?
Can now drink their favorite chips thanks to a bizarre new flavored vodka. The vodka combines sharp vinegar and crisp dill with what the company calls a salty potato twist. Sean Sylver, are you in or out on dill pickle potato vodka?
You know what? in. I heard about the buns earlier this summer. Just a wasteful proposition. You put hot dog buns in a package.
The packaging was bad.
8,
Poor design.
One sleeve, one entire Pringles can get you one bun. What are we doing here? But this, like, I'm not a huge mixed drink guy. My go-to when you go to a wedding and you want to, get happy so you can be out on that dance floor all night. Well, actually, very few weddings happening at this point in my life. Well, my friends have all gotten married, at the point where you're probably going to start seeing more divorces than weddings on an annual basis.
Those can be just as fun.
Sure. Anybody gets back out there, right? You gotta pick up our boy. No, I mean, hey. But yeah, weddings have certainly tailed off. I think and it wasn't COVID. It was definitely like 2018 or 19. Well, Joe got married in 2018. But 19, I think there were just a couple, and there've been only a few since then. So I'm squarely in my mid-40s. There's just not a lot of friends getting married anymore. But that was a long way of saying my drink of choice was the Gimlet. That's an old lady drink. It's gin or vodka with Rose's lime, but it'll get you messed up. It's sweet. It'll give you that sugar rush, but at the same time, you're getting a good amount. If the bartender knows what they're doing, they're pouring heavy on that Gimlet, and then you cut it with the roses with the lime. Just give it that kind of tart tang there without being too overbearing with, if it's gin. And I prefer the gin Gimlet. You ever have a shot of gin, Skaz?
It's been a while, but I've had gin before. Not for me,
Just
really.
Straight, though?
I'm sure back in the day, yeah, not for me. I'm a tequila guy.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
Tequila.
Maybe a Modelo, Miller Lite. That's about it.
Okay. But yeah, I'll mess around. I'll mess around with stuff. Give me a Pringles flavored drink. I'll try it. I would be open to being pleasantly surprised.
I like that. Sean Sylver open to being pleasantly surprised. I think that's a good place to be.
I'm 43 years old with 2 young children. I'm just generally open to being pleasantly surprised by any day of my life. And it'd be great.
Let's see if this is a pleasant surprise for you, Sean Sylver. A scientist who consulted on the Pentagon UFO program claims the government is storing bodies from at least 4 alien species inside secret military facilities. Sean Sylver, are we in or out on there being 4 different alien species currently held on this great Earth?
I think the first question would be, are we in or out on 1 alien species?
Well, this is the night show. You don't sit in that seat without being in on aliens.
Of course. I wonder who, I try to avoid being political. It's very important to do so. But just with I think everybody can agree with our government today. We have never been more close to just having national security secrets just exposed / for sale than they are right now. So I really wonder, who's got the keys to the vault where the aliens are stored, right? Is it the commander-in-chief? Does he know about it? Or is there some, secret society? You got to be, really deep. You got to be, double secret whatever to get to the aliens. Not even Trump can get to the aliens. Because I'm sure, if there were aliens, Trump would have told us already. He would have told us all about it. He would have went on True Social and just gotten all over it. So, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be somebody who's even more powerful than him when it comes to the extraterrestrial species. There's got to be an alien czar, and he's had to change his name. He's like the equivalent of witness protection, or an undercover guy who's infiltrating a biker gang or something. He's completely changed his life so he could be the alien guy. Nobody knows who he is, but he knows. 4 different species stored alive?
Well, they're
Is it
here.
like Men in Black?
They could be alive. They could not be. Who's to say?
I'm in. I'm in, if only because the chair compels me.
It's a powerful seat. It's
It
a
is.
powerful seat.
It is. It's a night show, baby.
Something Sean Sylver tossed into our in or out for tonight. Something I've commented on briefly this week, but maybe you have not, Sean Sylver. That would be the unfortunate release of Pat McAfee's album, Curd. We're all worse off that it exists. But Sean Sylver, are you in or out on Pat McAfee's album?
Well, I'm out on Pat McAfee's album without even hearing it. I don't think that that's, like a creative take at all. I feel like a lot of people are right there, and the people who have heard it are also right there. But I think another in or out would be, you in or out on Pat McAfee in general. Is Pat McAfee that overplayed song that Riley added to, her list?
I would say, for me personally, I would have had to enjoy the song in the first place for it to reach the overplayedness. I never really got, and I did really enjoy Portnoy on with Felger and Maz today.
Yep, he was talking about it a little bit.
Caught any of that, but I thought Mike did a really good job where he did his classic, media guys should never take down other media guys and, focus on the athletes. And then not even 120 seconds later, he was crapping down McAfee's throat. I thought that was flawlessly done by Mike. I just an A1 kind of, this is how you do radio from Mike Felger right there. I thought that was great.
Down his throat.
They asked Portnoy if he takes responsibility for McAfee and the launching of. I think, if anything, we should be asking if Portnoy is responsible for McAfee and what we have to deal with now as a society. That's the plague I think Pat McAfee is on all of us, but. I do find it funny that ESPN for years looked down upon the Barstools of the world, and now that's all they want to do, and you can't get away from the Stephen A. Smiths or wife beater wearing, standing up the entire time, bro Pat McAfee. So I may be the wrong guy to ask, because I find Pat McAfee to be an insufferable D-bag, to put it lightly, but so I'm out on Pat McAfee.
Okay, now how about this idea? Where are you on altcasts? Not necessarily altcasts featuring Pat McAfee, but the idea is that ESPN wants to have McAfee do the altcast on the shows that the Manning brothers don't do, which would bring some continuity to the product there, because the Mannings only do 12 weeks, I guess, including the Super Bowl. But that means more McAfee.
Tough schedule for those Mannings. 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Really grinding it out there, Peyton and Eli. Probably the cold months, I would imagine they take off if I had to guess. But
sweater weather.
Altcasts, I'm fine with in general. I like the ones where there's no noise, though. Yeah. They have the ones where it's the alt broadcast where it's just the game and I don't have to hear anybody talk. That's my kind of altcast. The PGA Tour has started doing this where you just hear the caddies and the actual player. There's no announcer, there's no Finch or whatever, Dan Hicks saying the same thing 10
Ian
times.
Baker Finch.
So I'm in on altcasts, mostly because less is more, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm a big less is more. I'm big into that. What's the thing in baseball that they do in the minor leagues where they just strip away? There's no entrance music. There's no graphics. There's no, I forget what they call it. Somebody must know. Somebody on the YouTube must know. But, I'm a big less is more guy when it comes to strobe lights at Fenway, out. Just noise in general at sports games. I was a big fan of ESPN's Jock Rock CD that they released in the 90s.
Oh, Jock Jams.
Everyone remembers Jock Jams, but Jock Rock came before Jock Jams. Jock Jams was big on a lot of that Euro dance crap and, YMCA's on there and stuff like that. But Jock Rock had, all the stuff that you would have heard at the ball game back in the 80s or 90s. So stuff that they would never, ever play today. But I remember I got it because I liked, and it's tough to talk about it now, but the Hey song, Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter. Also, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye by Steam. My God, did I love that song as a child. Watch, somebody gets knocked out of a playoff series and the organist is playing, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye. We Will Rock You was on there. Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. I Feel Good by James Brown. Tequila by the Champs.
Great karaoke song.
You know? Good stuff. Good stuff, that.
I have one that you put in here that's piqued my curiosity,
Yeah.
Sean Sylver. You simply put water slides. So is Sean Sylver in or out on water slides?
I am so in, but wouldn't have been able to answer that until I went to Disneyland.
So you were unaware of your love for water slides?
I had never been on a water slide in my life.
As a man who grew up not far
Right near
from
Water
I was
Whiz,
going to say
right?
plenty of water parks down there.
So when I was a kid, I think my church youth group had a field trip scheduled for Water Whiz, and I had gotten a tick bite the week before. Shout out Street Team Joe. Hope you're okay. And he is okay. I know Joe has been.
Is he though?
Joe has been forward on the show talking about his battle with Lyme disease, which is no joke. So I'm always hoping that STJ is okay, because that can be a real trip. But I got bitten by a tick in my armpit area, and it had to, it was so in there that the doctor had to go in with a little cut the core of your skin.
Like an apple, yeah.
To get the tick out. And I had a wound, and of course I couldn't get the wound wet, so I couldn't go on the Water Whiz youth group trip, and it just never came up again. My family barely got over the bridge when I was a kid, so even going to Wareham was that was a haul. So yeah, never went to Water Whiz. Obviously, never went to Water Country, despite all of the ads. Never been
Have
to
some fun.
Never been to a Great Wolf Lodge or anything like that. So yeah, I went on my first water slide at the Disneyland hotel that we were at, and it was great. I went on it with my daughter, who's 5.5. It was wonderful. My son, who's 8, wanted to go on a bigger water slide. Awesome. So now I'm like, man, this is a lot of fun. I want to go on more water slides, because let's talk Disneyland for a second here. I did not want to go on roller coasters. I don't like roller coasters. Out on roller coasters. I don't like heights. I don't like feeling out of control.
What about the virtual read? They have the. I mean, it's been a long time since I was in California at Disneyland, but they had the cruise in California where you're kind of virtually on a roller coaster, and they spray the salt water and the oranges at you and stuff, and it's like you're on a roller coaster, but you're not really. Is that something Sean Sylver can do?
Do they flip you upside down on that?
No flipping upside down.
Then I think I'm okay, because we went on a thing called Soaring Across America.
So it's probably similar, I would imagine. Same kind of thing.
You're sitting in this row of chairs,
Yes.
and they lift the chairs up, and you go into this video.
Yes.
And it's just views of the United States. It was awesome. And my little 5-year-old daughter was next to me, and she was just laughing because she was above the Statue of Liberty, and she thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. And it was kind of disoriented to feel like you were that high, but really I looked down to the side of me and I'm like, all right, we're not that high up in the air. We're just seeing a projection. I'm okay with that. But just generally, heights, loss of control, being upside down, something might fall out of my pockets, or, I grew up wearing glasses. I don't wear them now, but always thinking my glasses are going to get lost or broken was always a fear. I never want to be upside down. I would hate for my hat to fall off, or my sunglasses, or anything, my wallet. These things would all be bothering me. And then you just add it to the overall jankiness and the fact that roller coasters are always shutting down and stuff's happening to them. Out. So water slides were my big, brave, fun, new thing. I know it's not that brave, folks, but we've talked about this. I don't get aggravated much on the show and start yelling and screaming. It takes Skaz playing, The Calling, Wherever You Will Go, or some Gin Blossoms to really pull out an animated Sean Sylver. I'm at 7 all the time. I don't drink caffeine. I don't have really any vices other than ice cream. All right, so sugar is the thing that's going to get me excited. The rest of the time, I'm mostly right about here. I'm just riding steady.
Were you a Canopy Lake guy?
I went to that in my 8th grade field trip. I did not like going on whatever the roller coaster was there that I did.
Worst ride I've ever been on in my life was the Turkish Twist, I believe, at Canopy Lake Park. It was almost like
Which
you
one's
stepped.
that?
you stepped into a washing machine, basically, and the floor would almost fall out from under you, and it would spin and kind of hold you up against the side walls.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, that one still, haunts me to this day. So I'm out on that.
Yeah, I always hated rides where I felt like I was crammed in, or like gravity was just sticking me somewhere I didn't want to be. Remember, like the zipper or whatever you'd have at like the county fair.
Out on those.
Like
I was on any fair ride.
I was
to be
too
honest
tall
with you.
for it, and then they shut you into a cage that I'm too tall to be in. Anyways, it's claustrophobic. I'm getting banged around. Oh man, but yeah.
Maybe I'll head down to the Marshfield Fair tomorrow, see what's going on, check out the ride situation down there.
There you go. The demolition derby.
Let's see what the weather's like first, you know?
All right. I like it. Good Skaz getting in on it. We want to take a break because, it's the prudent thing to do.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Maybe a couple breaks. We'll see.
Why don't we do that here? We'll be back. Maybe some, I don't know. Do we have more in or outs?
Why not? It's a Friday.
It's a Friday. We got plenty of fun to have here. Join us here on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sport.
I've had a couple of them come to mind over the years. One would be Cherokee by Europe, the band that sings the Final Countdown.
Yeah, of course. You have to give me that information, though.
How many people here know Cherokee by Europe? The other one is Supersonic by Oasis, which I believe was an entrance for a wrestler at one point. Maybe Nigel McGuinness, perhaps, and who is an AEW guy, or not AEW, ROH guy. Are you into wrestling at all, Zeke?
Not really.
Okay.
I know that's a Jay Stu thing. We talk about it with Jay Stu. I act like I kind of like it.
Sure.
But not the biggest fan.
So you're going into your senior year.
I'm going into my senior year.
You're 21?
I am 20.
You're 20. Okay.
Yes.
So I was going to say, like, is wrestling, like, popular among people your age?
It's a niche.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Formula One in America. It's kind of like soccer before the World Cup in America.
Okay. I really feel like Formula One, isn't that like a big, like, expanding niche right now?
Same with soccer. I feel like those two are expanding niches. A lot of people are catching on, watching more. So I guess it's not the best comparison, but they are niches in a way. Obviously, they're not one of the four main American sports. So
right. What's your sport?
My niche sport is soccer. My favorite sport to watch, to call games, to cover is football, for sure.
Gotcha.
He's got a sneaky little bit of Alex Barth in him, where you name a guy on the roster, Zeke knows where he came from. He can tell you some details about him. He's a roster guy.
Zeke, can you tell me about famous Zekes in sports? Because, I mean, I was, as a younger man, like when I got baseball cards or basketball cards, if someone was named Sean, they were automatically going to be, not a ton of Seans in sports. It's generally a very
big
Irish
Sean
name,
Green
right?
fan back in the day.
Love Sean Green, greatest Jewish power, well, other than Hank Greenberg, greatest Jewish power hitter of all time. Hank Greenberg obviously takes the cake there.
Zeke Elliott, former Patriot.
Well, that's the easy one.
Yes.
That's the easy one. There's Ezekiel Duran, Rangers player, utility player on the Rangers. Ezekiel Tovar, Colorado Rockies shortstop.
Isaiah Thomas is Zeke, right? Technically, didn't he go by Zeke?
That's his nickname, yeah.
There you go. Good one, Skaz. That's the one I was going to do.
There's Ezekiel Palacios, one of the midfielders on the Argentinian national team, just was part of that team that went to the final.
Yeah, how about that? So are you an Ezekiel?
I go by Ezekiel, Zeke. It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
My mother usually uses Ezekiel. Everyone else really uses Zeke, but I go by both.
Because I just wanted to make sure there, because aren't there other names that can be shortened to Zeke? I feel
guess.
No, that would be like Zeb. Like Zebekiah would be Zeb. But I don't know. I feel like Zeke is a shortened version of other names. There's one name that I've never really figured it out. Why it's a shortened. Why are people named Margaret called Peg or Peggy?
That I have no idea. Skaz?
I got nothing there. And I know several, or more than one, Margarets who are Pegs. And I never asked them because, again, I don't want to inconvenience anybody. It's a very Sylver thing, just not to ask. I don't want to bother you with questions about your name. I can't figure out why Margarets are Pegs. But Ezekiel being Zeke makes total sense. Total sense. How's your summer been interning on Felger and Maz?
It's been awesome. I mean, Felger and Maz, that show speaks for itself. Just seeing and listening to the Chicken Box extravaganza today, just seeing all the people asking for autographs, kind of puts it in perspective. Like, you're interning for one of, if not the best, local sports radio show in the country. So it was pretty cool to see that, and then just throughout this whole summer.
I really feel like you should have been there. Now, there's a couple ways to play this, right? A, and you can answer or not answer. I have no idea. Are internships paid at the station?
They are not.
They're unpaid.
No, as most things at the station, they are unpaid.
Well, I in my 9-to-5 job, there was a period of time where internships were unpaid. I was definitely the person when I was younger. I never took an unpaid internship, and I probably walled myself off from great opportunities by taking that just to have the extra cash, at the time. Because I know if you can go for an unpaid internship and it really opens your horizons, right? My thinking was that you should have been there. Unless it was like, difficult for you to make it due to other commitments that you had.
Mike's got a guest bedroom
Or
for sure out there.
Even just a day pass to go over to the island.
Take Dennis's boat over there with him,
You should have been there. That is a part of the intern experience.
Surprised we didn't get Dondero over there.
You need to be there to
help.
No, Dondero here in the studio. You need Dondero's.
Well, in case there's any technical difficulties, you got to have a man back in the studio.
And I have been that man back in the studio many times. Most notably when the Celtics and Oklahoma City Thunder were playing a game. Skaz, were you and I working that? It was in early 2020, pre-COVID.
Was it the Russ game when he went nuts and beat them?
I'm not sure exactly what happened that game because the only part I remember is that I had to do play-by-play.
Oh, classic.
Chris Paul.
The brick went down, I'm guessing.
It was the year that Chris Paul was the point guard.
Biggest loser of our lifetimes.
Yes. Don't mince your words or anything.
Most overrated player I can remember.
But yeah, the feed went down. There was some weather, and we could no longer get it from OKC.
And that weather will get you.
And I forget exactly who.
It was probably a Jim Ross game, too. Grandy used to be joined by the great Jim Ross in a lot of those OKC games.
A little wrestling reference there. But yeah, the feed went, and it was several minutes, several to maybe 5, where I was just looking at a TV, and I was like, okay, Chris Paul brings it up. I believe Paul George might have been on that same OKC team. It was kind of like a transitional team.
I think it was Chris Paul and Shea, and it was kind of in the bubble year.
Okay.
If it was Chris Paul OKC, that was that year.
Yeah, I think this is like the 2019-2020 OKC Thunder. But
that's the beauty of live radio right there, though. You never know when you're going to have to do a little play-by-play.
I've got no background in play-by-play at all. Obviously, I respect the hell out of people who do. That was tough because not only was I nervous, it's like, yeah, my voice is going out across the Celtics radio network for this like Sunday afternoon Celtics game. Who knows how many people are hearing me? But I'm doing play-by-play for the first time in my life, and I'm doing it off a TV monitor. Like, not, across the room.
It's tough, man.
Very difficult.
It's tough.
Have you, so what is your course of study?
I'm a sports broadcasting journalism major at UMass Amherst,
Okay.
and the dream, the end goal is to be a play-by-play broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
But this summer has really opened me up to radio, and I'm also interning at Channel 7 WHDH in Boston. And it's really opened me up to anchoring, too. So just seeing how fun you guys have, Felger has, Maz has on an everyday basis, it's pretty cool. It really is. It really is.
The world's really your oyster.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can go a lot of different ways. I didn't have like a traditional pathway. I wasn't a broadcasting major or anything like that. And just was someone who enjoyed radio, enjoyed sports, did sports blogging and had like radio shows at tiny stations and just randomly wound up here by sheer dumb luck. But I always envy and respect the people who have formal, journalism backgrounds and actual training and that stuff, because you guys can do things that I could never do, because you have training, you have knowledge, and you have reps of all that stuff. So, doing an internship like this for the summer, and Channel 7 too, you're really getting the breadth of the sports, and journalism experience. And yeah, I guess you're going to figure out what your path is. That's kind of wild to think about that. I remember being like very nervous about that. I don't know how you feel, but like people in the business have been in like 800 different places.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like,
all over the place.
Yeah. And it feels like, particularly in today's generations, like people don't stay at the same job. They jump around, different opportunities. And, it's not like the first place that you go, you're going to be at for the rest of your career. So
every 2 years, you're changing. That's just what it looks like.
2 years.
And your point about internships, in this industry, not many internships are paid. And in fact, like 99% of them are unpaid. That's why I have a lot of friends that they have paid internships. And I say, let's go out to dinner sometime. Let's go out to dinner. And, I'm not really getting paid right now. So
there you go.
Here you go. Take it.
I feel like you need to take some of these macaroons home with you. Got into some macaroons around the studio here that
Key
we just
lime macaroons.
happened to find out. We've done the key lime. Maybe we'll have to do the buttercream, blueberry buttercream next. I don't know. We'll see where the night takes us. All right, the Sox game is over at Fenway. We got intern Zeke in with us here for the 10 o'clock hour. And we're going to be catching up with Anna Russo, the Section 10 podcast this hour as well. She was at the game, and, we've been corresponding, and I just said, hey, just enjoy the game. Enjoy your Friday night. We'll talk when you're done. So we will at some point this hour, and I think that's cool because a lot of people love Section 10. Again, I know it's funny because I just listen to podcasts. I'm not really into their socials or anything like that. So today I was on Twitter, which I don't really use a whole ton, and I was just like, I'm not following Anna on Twitter. I'm not following Section 10 on Twitter. I'm not, I just listen, right? So I guess that makes me kind of a Luddite. I'm a little analog here with my approach, but I do enjoy what they do over there, and obviously want to get her into the fold as well. So I'll be doing that this hour. We got Skaz alongside. Zeke, feel free to hang out. Throw some questions Anna's way when we get to her. And, we'll take a break for a headline here on 98.5 The Sports of the Joe Murray Show.
Don't go anywhere. There's more.
Sox took care of the Giants at Fenway Park, and Rafael Devers' return to the hallowed grounds. He went 1 for 3 with a walk and a homer in this game. 6-4 your final. As the Sox, actually, no, he did go 1 for 3. Just wanted to make sure I was doing it right. As the Sox got a 3-run jack from Wilson Contreras, that was the big blow. Sonny Gray picks up, can you believe it, 16th win of the season. We haven't even reached September yet. Sonny Gray going to be a 20-game winner this year? Wild. Aroldis Chapman, his 28th save. Sometimes when I'm looking at a box score, my advanced age, I need to determine the 6 from the 8. There's a 28th save for Chapman. So good all around. They'll get back at it tomorrow in Game 2 of this series. Looking to win another series, right? Got to stack those W's for the Red Sox as they beat the Giants. NFL preseason, as I said, for the degenerates. Carolina, Jacksonville, fourth quarter, 10 minutes left. It's the Panthers up 27-9. Green Bay and Denver, about 10 minutes left in the second quarter. They're at 10-10. We got a final from earlier. The Jets shut out Pittsburgh. So if you took the under in that one, 17-0 was the final. NBA, a couple of moves. Klay Thompson reportedly will be going to the Miami Heat once he gets bought out. DeMar DeRozan, now a member of the Denver Nuggets, on a 1-year deal. Sports Up Headlines, brought to you by, is that DN Van Lines? Yeah, it is. Take the chance out of your move. Make the sure bet with DN Van Lines. They're an approved mover of the Department of Defense. DNVanlines.com. I'm Sean Sylver, Boston Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Up. Next update, 10:30.
This is what happens when analysts take over the games, take over the sport.
This is where you talk sports.
It happens all the time.
The Sports Hub.
Here comes Devers for the first time. The designated hitter, number 16, Rafael Devers. Rafi, 244 with 25 home runs.
And final hour of the Joe Murray Show. Sean Sylver here, you there. I'm joined by James Scaramazino. You may know him as Skaz on the board, as usual. I know I'm in good hands with Skaz and intern Zeke. Zeke, I apologize. I think we've met maybe twice before.
Maybe
passing.
twice, maybe 3 times.
Your last name?
Altman. A-L-T-M-A-N.
That's right. Zeke Altman. How do we follow you on socials? I mean, we've already done a segment together. I didn't have your last name out the tip of my tongue. And I think you're a cool guy. I don't know if that's an endorsement that people would take to the bank because, you know, I'm me. Your mileage may vary. But if we want to follow you on socials and see what you're up to, how do we find you?
I appreciate that. I like to think I'm a cool guy on Twitter or X, whatever you like to call it. Ezekiel Altman, capital E, capital A. On Instagram, you can follow my personal account, Ezekiel Altman, on that, capital E, capital A, or my sports account, Ezekiel Altman Sports, no capitals there.
Ah, interesting. So is the sports account more for, different ventures you're doing, whether it's in the broadcasting sphere or whatever? Is it kind of like your portfolio or like your living, experience through that? Or is it just... because I struggle having 2 Instagram accounts, for instance.
It's
one
tough.
for me and one for my podcast. Just like, that's a lot of work.
It's tough. So here's how I like to do it. The personal account shows where I'm going in the world, what I'm doing, with my time with family and things like that. My sports account, that's for what games I'm covering, where I'm going in that area of my life.
Nice.
What my reports that I'm doing, what games that I'm watching, maybe. Stuff like that.
I like it. So your personal account, you may have a post about where you went to dinner. Where'd you wind up going, by the way?
I went to Pho Woburn. I like Vietnamese food.
I love a good pho. Little
chicken noodle soup.
Yeah. With a soda on the side.
Yeah. It wasn't too hot tonight, so I think thought you could get away with it.
Yeah. Oh, tonight's a good fun night.
Yeah.
You get that chill in the air. So that was good. So you were there with your mom, right?
I went there with my mom, yeah.
And then your dad's going tarps off at Fenway. So
my dad is going tarps off at Fenway.
That seems like more of a post for the Zeke Altman sports account.
Well, I don't think I'd be posting myself if I were tarps off on my sports account. No, thank you. But the food could go on my personal account, although I did not take any pictures of the food, although it was pretty good food.
Hey, sometimes you don't need pictures.
You guys in or out on tarps off?
I'm in.
Let them have fun. Let them do what they want.
You in or out on your dad going tarps off?
I'm out on that one. 57-year-old man, you don't need to see anything.
Do you think Mr. Altman booed Rafi Devers tonight?
He is the most positive man on the history of the earth, so definitely not. He definitely cheered.
Would you have booed Rafael Devers tonight?
I like to go with what Jay Stu said earlier. Cheer him for the title on his first at-bat, and boo him the rest of the night.
Oh, so you get the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting. I mean, I would have politely clapped, I think, each time.
That's the most Sean Sylver answer I've ever heard. To politely clap.
Middle of the road, Sylver response, tepid. I don't have the hot sports takes. Why am I here right now on Friday night at 10:15 with all of you?
Don't annoy anyone.
Man, but
isn't that kind of Rafi Devers' curse, though? The polite clap is almost the response he warrants. Like, Rafi Devers was here for a while, part of a World Series team, all that, but he doesn't elicit a visceral response from me in any way.
It's a great point, and I was probably because I was going to make the same point, Skaz. So, yeah, it's a great point because I agree 100%.
I don't hate the guy.
Yeah, I don't hate the guy.
He's kind of a fat baby, but I don't hate him.
Position battles have come up before. Remember when, Nomar came up? Oh, sorry, Zeke.
Well, that's your guy, right?
That's my guy, right? So Nomar was coming up, and John Valentin had just had a very close to a 300-3,100 season for the 1995 Red Sox, and everyone kind of thought that Valentin, it was an all-star caliber shortstop, but then you had Nomar coming up, and there was a big riff in that, 97 spring training of who's going to play shortstop. And Valentin eventually moved over, but it wasn't without some, a little bit of anxiety there. This was all, Alex Bregman being here was just a critically bad move, I think, for the Red Sox. Because, one, he stunk and didn't give you anything after he got injured, which, of course, Alex Bregman got injured because he's injury-prone, and he hasn't been a good player since 2019. I don't care what WAR says or the defense says. So just by bringing him in, you upset Devers. And then he also apparently was coaching the team, which led to Alex Cora getting fired because he didn't have Alex Bregman to coach the team this year. The whole thing I don't know. I never liked it. But hey, maybe getting Alex Bregman means that you got out from under Rafael Devers' contract. And if you're not a fan of that contract, they did that contract because you had already gotten rid of Mookie. Bogarts, you never would have paid that much for Bogarts, and you're probably glad that you didn't, even though he was a homegrown guy. You had to keep one of them to keep the fans from totally rioting. They did, and then it went south. But again, asking someone who's 20, right? Devers, he came up in 2017, so his tenure with the Red Sox is your youth. Was he your guy? Did you feel like a pull with him?
I don't know if Rafael Devers was my guy. I think Mookie Betts was my guy.
Man, that's tough.
That home run, the Dennis Eckersley, it's time to party.
Yeah.
Xander Bogaerts, some of the big hits he had as a Red Sox. He was just the shortstop. The first year I really started following the Red Sox, 2013, was his rookie year, so I kind of grew up with Xander Bogaerts as the starting shortstop.
Yeah.
And my opinion on Xander Bogaerts is that if they didn't get rid of Xander Bogaerts and kept him and maybe overpaid for him, you'd still have a sound, happy, satisfied Rafael Devers here today, because when you get rid of Bogaerts, how do you compensate for that? You go and sign a Trevor Story, and we know what's happened with Trevor Story there. So I think if you have Bogaerts, if you have Devers right there on the left side of that infield, you don't have to go out and trade a Kyle Harrison for a Caleb Durbin. You don't have to go and sign an Alex Bregman if you still have Bogarts there, not coddling Rafael Devers, but comforting him.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, and as we're learning with, the whole Alex Bregman thing, whether his influence was overvalued or undervalued, his presence on the team, I guess, was appreciated by several teammates, and he goes out the door. He made an impression here. So, yeah, like continuity, keeping talented players who are also, kind of copacetic and get along well, keeping them together in the same dugout, keeping their successful regime in place. I mean, the Red Sox just strayed so far from that and made so many contradictory moves that, there was almost no way that Devers could just be happy. I mean, other than the money, which there's kind of an element of shut up and play, from the fans towards him there. But I wanted to connect with Devers. I remember the summer of 2017. My wife and I had gotten married the previous summer. We were expecting our first child, and we'd moved into our new house. So it was that first year of I'm doing a lot of work on the house. I'm listening to and watching the Red Sox games, and Devers comes up. He's this 20-year-old kid, and he homers off Aroldis Chapman like a 103-mile-an-hour fastball. And I'll never forget watching that and just being like, whoa, we got something here, right? But honestly, 2018, he was not a real much of a contributor to that. That wagon was not his. 2019, the rabbit ball year, everybody was feasting and hitting home runs. The only real dominant, just absolutely dominant MVP caliber year that he had here was 2021. And rightfully, we should credit him for being a major contributor to a team that went on a playoff run, and he had a huge home run against the Rays in that playoff series. But he kind of goes down as a guy who was on. Again, you mentioned Bogarts leaving town. Obviously, Mookie getting traded. It's not all his fault, but he was kind of the last one left on some so-so Red Sox teams. He was just the one key bat on some teams that nobody's gonna care about years from now. The 90s, for me, the 96 or 97 Red Sox, or where teams were they were not that bad. It wasn't a disaster say 2012, right?
That was bad.
Right. That was bad with Bobby V. I'm trying to think of other just purely disastrous years for the Red Sox, but
2023, 2022,
those were just kind of blah years to me. I feel in 23 there was a thought that they were competitive, and that at the trade deadline they added I forget, I looked him up the other night, some light hitting middle infielder.
Arias, I think his name was.
Jose Arias.
I think it was
something?
Luis Arias.
Luis Arias from the Twins or Royals, or he just and good pull there. But that just, it was a nothing move for a team that eventually just wound up being nothing. So 22, 23, 24, those are just Red Sox teams that nobody's going to talk about in the future. There was no playoffs, but they also weren't historically bad.
And those were the teams that Devers was leading. Here's my issue with Rafael Devers. If you're asking, say you ask a guy like Willie Abreu, you're an amazing outfielder, come in and play second base, the team needs you. Willie Abreu might say, no, I've built my career off of being a right fielder. Mm-hmm. I want to sign a big contract and make a name off being an elite right fielder. Mm-hmm. Rafael Devers said no to changing his position to help the team. He's getting paid $30 million a year.
Great point.
That's the difference. He's already got his contract. He signed in this contract that he signed with the Red Sox. He's not an unrestricted free agent until 2034. So that's the difference between Devers and a guy like Abreu or a guy like Duran or Rafaela. These are guys that haven't, I guess Rafaela has, but those are guys that haven't got their contract, their 10, 12-year contract. Devers had it and wasn't committed to winning. That was the problem. That was the issue with Rafael Devers. And it seemed like it was a character issue from that specific example. Because trying to help the team win should be everything once you've set your family straight, gotten the money, been able to put your kids in whatever college they want to go to, bought whatever house you want. The next thing should be winning. That's it. That's it.
So, that leads to the booing.
Leads to the booing.
It leads to the booing. And then so it was clap the first time and then boo the whole rest of the night?
It was a mix. It was a mix of both at all times, pretty much. And Devers' reaction to the tribute video that they did at the end of the first inning was a little tiny wave, a little faint wave. It really wasn't nothing. He didn't go out and tip his cap. He didn't tip his cap to anything else. So the silent clapping that you were talking about, polite clapping.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been a golf clap.
That is exactly what.
Like woo woo. I would have been like.
That was exactly Devers' response to the polite clapping.
Yeah, talented player. Put up a lot of numbers for this team. But again, for me, like when I was a kid, right? Or when you were coming up, because Andrew Bogarts was the shortstop, like the year you were getting into the team, right?
Nomar.
Yeah. Like Mo Vaughn. And, even here's the thing, because I'm even older than that. Like when I was a kid, my favorite player was Wade Boggs, who left to go to the Yankees when I was 10. And then Roger Clemens. Who I wanted to get into Roger Clemens, right? Like I think I had an initial love of Dwight Evans. I was like, cool mustache, he's a franchise legend. I want to get into this guy. I really liked Ellis Burks because he was fast and had power. But Boggs and Clemens were the Red Sox in the late 80s, early 90s. Those are the guys that I was going to make my guys, and then both depart in crazy circumstances and wind up playing for the Yankees.
Brutal.
And, Clemens, there's things about him that you may or may not like.
Damn good pitcher.
So, those guys, I was just supposed to like them. Mo and Nomar, stirred the senses for me. And, they, meant something. And I just can't say anything bad about them. So, yeah, I don't know. Clemens was awesome, but he was a mercenary.
Would you like a little Rafael Devers update from tonight?
What do we got?
This 2 minutes ago from our old friend Tyler Milliken, Rafael Devers has declined to speak post-game to reporters.
Interesting.
It's the most Rafael Devers thing.
Is it really?
He was very short with his pregame comments. I believe you posted that in our Slack.
He said no when asked if he had any regrets.
No regrets?
No regrets.
He got a tattoo across his
no
neck.
regrets.
No regrets.
I don't think Rafael Devers really wanted to be here by the end of it, and I think his actions and words have spoken mightily since then.
Yeah, he just wound up being a mercenary, and now he's over in San Francisco. He's hitting 244. He's going to have 30 bombs, but he's one of those guys, one of these not Hall of Famers, but Hall of very good players. He's going to wind up as where nobody really cares that they're not in the Hall of Fame. Where they got really good numbers, but no one's that guy should be in the Hall of Fame. And I know he's a PED guy, but Rafael Palmeiro, right? Rafael Palmeiro has these amazing numbers when you really put it all together. And he was a good defensive first baseman when he played first base, but he eventually just wound up being a DH type who just put up numbers during the steroid era for a whole bunch of teams. He would go from Baltimore to Texas to, I forget where, I know he was on the Cubs at the beginning of his career. He was with some other teams.
Baltimore.
Was it Baltimore and Texas?
Baltimore for the last 2 years. He also had a 5 or 6 year stint with Baltimore after his stint with Texas, and he started off with the Cubs, like you said.
Okay, so he was with 3 different teams, but no fan base really owns Rafael Palmeiro. No position. He really had no position because he was a first baseman and won Gold Gloves there. But comically, after Palmeiro switched to DH and played 150 games at DH and 10 at first base, they still voted him for the Gold Glove. It was really weird one year. But he was just a DH guy who put up numbers. Eventually, he got smoked for PEDs, and no one was like, "Oh man, that's our hero." Who's not going to get in the Hall of Fame because he got roasted on PEDs. Nobody just gives a crap that Rafi Palmeiro with these amazing numbers is not in the Hall of Fame. And maybe just in my brain without thinking about it, I'm comparing them because they're both named Rafael. But Rafael Devers is probably going to be the same way. He's going to have 400 career home runs or something, like have a World Series, have a bunch of All-Star selections, and no one's ever going to say like, wow, that guy really needs to be in the Hall of Fame. He's probably going to play with a couple more teams after this.
When the Giants dump his contract?
Yeah, they'll find a way, right? So that's, I don't know. That's probably where he's going to wind up. It's too bad. Could have been different.
It's too bad. It's about being meaningful. It's about making big hits, doing big things, making an impression on a fan base, on a city. Guess Rafael Devers didn't really want that because he preferred hitting in a ballpark where the average goes down just so he can be away from the roo-rah of Boston and Fenway Park. I guess he didn't want it, and I guess we know that now.
We know it now. 617-779-0985. All has come to bear here with Rafael Devers as he returned. Well, he is who we thought he was, and the fans booed him tonight. But the Sox got the win, and Anna Russo, Section 10 podcast, has hung on tonight through this game and wants to join our show. So thanks, Russi. We'll be getting to her on the other side of this here in the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
98.5, the Sports Hub, the Joe Murray Show. Sean Sylver in for Joe tonight. Skaz alongside intern Zeke as well. And we're having fun here during the 10 o'clock hour. And I wanted to say we had a guest schedule, but that Red Sox game went long. And I'm thankful that she hung on and she's still coming on the show. We're going to do this thing. Anna Russo, Section 10 podcast. Thanks for joining us. Now, as we haven't, formally had a conversation before, only on the socials here, am I to call you Anna or Russi? Because Russi is a very popular character here in the podcast world.
Honestly, it's been an adjustment for me. I would say most people in my personal life call me Anna, so feel free to call me Anna. Everyone else, I just feel like I'm subjected to Russi left and right now, and I'm like, it's refreshing to hear someone actually know my name.
Subjected to Russi? So this was not by choice?
This was not by choice. So when I had first met all the Section 10 fellas, I somehow, Caruso, my last name, Roos was derived out of it, and then Russi. So that, I think, was kind of the chain effect of how Russi really came to fruition there.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sure we've all been subjected to some nicknames in our lives. Now,
I love it. I love it. Don't get me wrong.
Right. It brings you notoriety. I've always said, I don't care if you're saying, my name in a positive or a negative light, as long as you're saying my name, that's good.
It's a good way to think about it.
So you were at the game tonight. I want to get the the report from the street here. Rafael Devers back at Fenway. Did you cheer or boo?
So funnily enough, didn't get to the game in time. Totally forgot. Yeah, no. Had a friend who was running late. Love her dearly, but I was like, she was like, this is the whole point of going tonight. If we're supposed to be boots on the ground journalism.
Oh man.
But from what I saw on the broadcast, a lot of boos, which really, really made me upset.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I think, we've all kind of seen the chatter online. Everybody's, kind of divided on where they really stand on the whole Rafi situation. But personally, I think what trumps everything is he won a ring with us, and you can't let 3 bad months and a sour ending really just have an overall impact on, what his career in Boston was, how much he really did love this city. And I just think he was kind of put in an unfortunate situation towards the end here, which made it a little bit harder for everybody. But I was cheering. I was clapping. His tribute video came on, gave him a loud couple of cheers, and as did some other people in my section. So shout out to everybody who cheered for Rafi tonight. They get all of my Tommy points this evening.
I have mentioned that I would have given him the polite clap. I wouldn't have gone nuts necessarily. I've seen a lot of Red Sox in my time, and Rafael Devers has a ranking for me. I wouldn't say it's like super high, but
he's not number one.
You gotta appreciate the guys, and he certainly did a lot. Obviously this Sox-Giants series going on here this weekend. Sox trying to stack some series wins, as they were for quite a while. Like, you don't have to go 15 in a row, right? But, if you can stack series wins, then that proves you're a pretty good team. I wouldn't call it like big W worried about this team, but their recent performance had me a little worried that there was, some regression, and then the injuries were added. I don't know, I was kind of getting there in a place of anxiety. Obviously they win the series against the D-backs. They look good tonight. Where are you right now? Are you still, lost in the hoopla of everything we saw in July and early August? Where are you on the reality of the Sox at this point?
An old saying goes, just take it day by day. And I truly think that's just where I'm at with this team, right? I think it's really hard in the beginning of the season for us to get caught up in, oh my God, they're so bad, and this is going to be a franchise worst, year that we're going to have. And then, July comes along, everybody's all high and mighty. We're winning 15 in a row, then we're winning 9 in a row, or we're winning 10 series in a row. And I think what makes the game of baseball so difficult to comprehend is no other sport plays as many games in a single season. So I think you really have to look at it kind of like in the longevity of things.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to take kind of, not, take every game with such seriousness, but at the same time, right, when you're kind of in crunch season, we have little over a month left in the regular season. We're trying, again, as you said, get as many series wins, get as many single game wins as we can. It's kind of hard to not get caught up in. But, this was a team that at one time you would go into extra innings and it's like the game's over. Like there's no way this team is coming back. And now it's the team that you see Caleb Durbin or you see Nick Sogard, Mickey Gasper, and all these guys who really weren't performing at the beginning of the season really carrying this team through. So I think it's really hard to not get caught up in like what this team has developed into. But you also can't hold these crazy high expectations that, out of the gate, this is going to be a pennant-winning team.
Right.
So I just think all I really want to see is them really secure a good wild card spot and just get past the first round of the wild card. That's really all I want to see out of this team this season.
Yeah, I think it would be a good run. We've got our intern Zeke Altman here with us tonight. Zeke, you got a question for Anna?
Hey, Anna, my question is, the Red Sox working with 5 starters here going Sandoval, Gray, Tolley, Bennett, Suarez, and then the relief situation right now without the likes of Whitlock, without the likes of Slayton. How sustainable is the way that they are winning right now going to the future? And would you sprint to the finish line going all out with those pitchers, or would you jog a little bit? Would you do the opener for Bayo? Would you give a bullpen game here and there? How would you do this if you were Chad Tracy for this last month or so of the season?
Yeah, Zeke, that's a great question. I think the first place that my mind goes to is the bullpen game we just had against the Diamondbacks, right? Where we bring out an opener for Bayo and we go 11-1, right? And our offense carries and our pitchers are able to sustain, keeping that hold on them. Sometimes Chapman, I can't lie, gives me a little bit of anxiety. Like we've seen him really struggle to kind of hold some of these games together when he's supposed to be, the guy that we kind of look to really secure these wins. Without Whitlock, I think that makes it exponentially harder. And I don't know if, anyone on the show knows this. I have a strong dislike for a certain pitcher in our bullpen that whenever I see him come in, I'm like, well, we're automatically giving up 2-3 runs. So I think it really is a case by case on the game, but I think we got to jog a little bit, right? Like I don't want to put Bayo in the situation of, well, if we put him out to start, I think we're inevitably just going to fall back in that same cycle of he's going to continue to really struggle in the first inning, give up those really early leads. But then when we bring an opener in for him, he does outstanding. So I think we kind of got to jog a little bit and keep that same strategy that, we've been doing with these bullpen games.
Makes me wonder what, they would do with Bayo if indeed they are going into a playoff scenario or going, semi-deep into the playoffs like you were talking about.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're hearing is, I know it was reported this week that Garrett Crochet envisions himself coming back as a 2-inning guy with the recent injuries to the bullpen. Thinking about Crochet, even Tanner Houck's name coming up. I can't imagine that he would get stretched out. But, potentially some assets there in a bullpen that's taken a couple of hits on the injury side recently.
Yeah, I think Crochet in a bullpen spot, just to kind of get him assimilated a little bit more after the injury, I'm like, that is so much more enjoyable to watch than, putting him in as a starter, watching him struggle through 6 innings. Like, you don't want to do that to your guys when they're, trying to get back into that playoff mode too. It's not like you're coming back, June, July, when you have so many more months to figure out. It's like, again, we're in crunch time. You really got to make sure you're putting assets where you really need them. So I like that a lot. If Crochet came in to be a bullpen guy, I would not be opposed to that the slightest.
How about if you're looking at some of these other names here, there's always that talk of, oh, yeah, we may not. Now, the Sox did make some trades at the deadline, but deadline acquisitions that are just guys coming off the injured list, and Roman Anthony and Trevor Story. Do you lean a particular way on either of those players and their comebacks? I know some people are down on Story, but Roman Anthony obviously was expected to be a big piece of this team.
Yeah, I think first with Story, I think it's hard for me to welcome him back with open arms. I think these past, 2 seasons, he's been pretty serviceable, but seeing what Monasterio has done offensively has just been kind of a breath of fresh air. But, I really wish, and I had said this on Section 10 podcast, my kind of like first coming out of the gate kind of hot, is I just want these guys to get healthy, right? I don't want them to come back at the end of the season and kind of have a slow start. And I think this especially goes with Roman Anthony, right? As everybody has these incredibly high expectations of what this young man can do for the franchise. What I have to put into perspective is this guy's a year younger than I am, and I just graduated college last year. So to really put your, Boston Red Sox franchise, playoff run and, really clinching kind of the, even if we are looking at clinching the AL East or coming close to it, like riding on the potential of what Roman Anthony can be is actually so different than what he can actually come and bring to the table. So I just want, the both of them, if they were to come back, I wouldn't want them to come out the gate and, be starting every single game. I think Roman needs to rehab in Portland, right? Like he came out, he had a home run, I think, in his Portland debut, then went 0-for-3 the next night. So I think it's about finding a level of consistency first, then going to Worcester, and then if time allows and we really feel like he's in a good spot, maybe we test him out, maybe in a game here or there, but I don't think he's going to be at a place where he's going to be fully ready to come back and just be a starter every single night.
And another name to this list of people potentially rehabbing and coming back, Curtis Smead is someone that maybe potentially could come back mid to late September. Where does that leave a guy like Nick Sogard, a guy that continuously gets on base over and over and over again? If you have Story back, if you have Mead back, if you have Roman Anthony back, if you maybe have Isaiah Kiner Falefa back, where does that leave a guy like Nick Sogard, and what would you do if you were Chad Tracy in this situation and Craig Breslow?
I have 3 words. Give me Sogi. I want to see Nick Sogard on that lineup every single night. Like, I just think he is somebody like him, and, I think Anthony Siegler also has a lot of work to do, but they are just 2 guys who consistently play with so much passion. And I think, as the kind of fan that I am, it's like that's the energy that I feed off of. And I even think late into the season last year, Nick Sogard really showed that he could provide. And, going into the season when I saw that he was in Worcester for a lot of, the beginning of what this team was and, kind of see him be able to really earn his spot back, I think Nick Sogard deserves it. And almost Curtis Mead maybe might have to take a backseat. I haven't obviously seen Curtis Mead play. Really, I don't know what he would provide in Boston. I don't really know what type of a role he would play, but I love the role that Nick Sogard has been playing, and if something isn't broken, you don't need to fix it. So I think keep Nick Sogard going for as long as you can until you really feel like he needs to kind of, take a step back and, if you want to put Mead in, then go ahead. But I want to see Nick Sogard every single night play second base, or, even if we come into the situation of we need to test out moving our infield around a little bit, I don't think giving Nick Sogard more reps at shortstop is even that bad of a shout. I think, we saw him maybe do it maybe twice this season. I don't think, it's a bad thing to maybe take Monasterio out, try Nick Sogard at short. Maybe if Tony Siegels gets it back together defensively, put him back at second. So I think there's a lot of things we already have to play with on this roster. And, I think it's both exciting to see, what we can add with this injured list, but also you don't really want to take the spotlight away from the guys who have worked so hard this whole season to really deserve their spot.
Great point.
Yeah, one of those Red Sox teams where, a lot of guys, they just kind of tug at your heartstrings, kind of nobody expected them to be a part of this, and yet here we are. And then you got to answer some of the hard questions when the other guys get back and need to take their place. But hey, it's not a bad position to be in given the way things started this season. Anna Russo, the Section 10 podcast. You may call her Russi, and she may not enjoy that 100%, but she'll take it. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime. I really appreciate you connecting with us after the game tonight, and hope to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys so much.
All right, Anna. Hope to talk soon.
Right.
Have a good night.
Yes, sir. All right, you guys too. Good night.
Anna Russo closing out the show here on the Joe Murray Show. I'd like to, we're going to take a quick break here for a headline, and then the other end, we will say our goodbyes to you. Joe Murray Show, Sean Sylver in on this Friday night on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox win 6-4, moves to 68-59 on the season in the Rafael Devers return game. He went 1-for-3 with a walk and a home run over the